Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things that you love with those that you love to do them with this morning. Guys, do me a favor. Smash the like button if you are here. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, let me know if the mic volume is too high or too low. I've been messing around with some settings and haven't had a chance to test it. So please let me know if I'm screaming at you. But we got a lot to talk about this morning. Some major changes at board level. Now, I put a tweet out and I intimated that this is one of two things. And then George Bannister come back in who's a man who knows a thing or two about a thing or two at Tottenham Hotspur, and he sort of realigned the actual story. And so I now know the truth, but there's like 500 people that keep retweeting my initial tweet. And so I just want to put it out there that clearly my initial thoughts on the matter were based on ignorance and supposition and hypothesis. And it's a little bit... I've come out and corrected it, but the initial tweet still gets retweeted and sent around. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so it looks like Donna Maria Cullen, much maligned board member of Tottenham Hotspur, someone that gets a hell of a lot of I guess, mud thrown in her direction, primarily because of her proximity to Daniel Levy. She's always sat next to him at every game, and or very near to him at every game. And so there's this kind of, I guess, suggestion that she has a lot of influence, or she's had a lot of influence on things that she shouldn't really be influential on. I think that there was the chance to bring back Pochettino last summer or 2 summers ago. And I think from the rumor mill that she was the one who kind of poo-pooed it and said she didn't want him back. And so that was a little bit of a sticking point. And by the reaction of her leaving today by the Spurs fans, it seems like it's a story that has gone down very well. Now, the root of the story, guys, is... Well, I'll get it up and show you that it was a planned retirement. It's been planned for a while. It was supposed to happen last year, but it didn't materialize for whatever reason. That's what George Bannister said. But about 5 minutes before he told me that, I said... that this is one of two things. Surely, either there's boardroom unease and disruption and disharmony surrounding the various take on whether Ange should continue or otherwise, or Vini has come in and dropped a nuke on the boardroom or on the structure at the football club. Now, obviously, a CEO doesn't have the mandate to be able to come in and fire board members. Board members are voted in and voted out, so it doesn't work that way. But that and that's what, a few people were saying that's why that can't be the latter. But I wasn't suggesting that he's come in and said, "Get out, you're fired," and she said, "You can't fire me, I quit." I was suggesting more that he's coming in and maybe has lent some suggestions towards Daniel Levy and the board, and that has therefore structured a conversation that there needs to be changes. And so Donna Cullen has expedited her planned retirement, which I still think could be true. I think the planned retirement is obviously something that's been in the works, but it didn't happen last year. And I just find it a little bit odd and suspicious and curious that it has happened on Vini's first day. Or Vini's first day was yesterday. No, today, actually, isn't it? Today. So, I just find it all a little bit, kind of the timing of it is a little bit suspicious, if you know what I mean. But yeah, apparently Change for Spurs are taking credit for this. It's all down to them. Shameless 3 for all. But look, either way, she's gone. She's going. There's also suspicions that someone else, there's been Company's House director updates from Tottenham Hotspur. I'm going to bring you all the tweets in a minute, and we're going to go through, what that means, what that could mean, and also we've got some transfer news, views, and clues updates for you. Some interesting stuff around the world of football as well. Not we're going to spend too much time talking about that today. We'll talk a little bit about it because it indirectly affects Tottenham, and then we're going to talk about that later on Football Inc. By the way, I'll be putting the Football Inc. link into the chat. Yesterday, there was 1,100 people or so that was watching this stream. And, a good slice of them, about 200, maybe 300 people went across to watch the Football Inc. stream, which I'm loving doing with Johnny. It's such a refreshing style of content to be able to talk about football that you don't really have, an agenda on. You don't really have any biases. You can just look at the situation as a neutral into a club, talking to fans of other clubs about what you see as maybe happening. And also, you're going to end up, because you haven't got that closer proximity to those clubs, you're not going to be totally over everything as much as you are Tottenham. So it's really cool to have people that are sort of cognizant of that. And when you say something that might be a little bit incorrect or, infactual, then they're not coming in going, no, you're wrong, you're in the mud. Instead, they're just saying, actually, Sean, or actually, Johnny, that's, you're forgetting about this thing, or you're overlooking that. And it's just it's a really nice environment. So, and like I say, it's just refreshing to talk about things that you don't often talk about. And it means that you have to be closer to the dial as well. So you're paying more attention to other things that are going on. Let's say hello to the chat before we get into today's stories about Tottenham, though, guys. Assuming this is at 11:20 a.m. and it's not 12 hours time. Yeah, sorry, I put out the wrong time. Got my AMs and my PMs wrong. My right hand, my left hand doesn't know what each other are doing. Good to see you, though, driving my Hyundai. Boy from the lane. Ange gone next, please. Yeah, I was speaking to Sava this morning, and he was like, I hope this is the first of a tree shake where Munn goes, Ange goes, Lange goes, Cullen's gone, maybe Levy as well. Unfortunately, I don't think that's not really the long and the short of it, is it? I think maybe Ange is going to go, but we haven't heard any stories about that this morning. In fact, we've got some more updates about Inzaghi to go through as well. Vini shaking things up, things you love to say. Well, mate, like I say, maybe not. Like I say, I think that at best it's an expedition of a planned situation, but a situation that maybe was planned for a while that didn't happen when it was supposed to happen. So maybe she's gone, you know what? New guy coming in, perfect time to say goodbye. I don't really want to have to get in the way. I don't really want to have decisions to make regarding his plans when I'm on my way out. He's getting his feet under the table. So, maybe it's just all, best for all parties concerned, right? But it also could be, though, two things can be true at the same time. It could be one, none, or all of the above. It also could be that there is disagreement at the board level surrounding Ange. And if Donna obviously has her opinions on who the right manager is, as I said at the start, she's she's a PR woman, but she's like, that's her kind of her background, and that was her official role. But she had massive influence in the stadium build. I'm not sure the detail of what she was having, but everything I've read is that she was incredibly influential and kind of all over that plan and that project. So sometimes I feel like you get people that can be a little bit too busy and a little bit too involved in things that they're not necessarily all over. And if she had the some sort of, and look, as a board member, I guess, everything has to be put to a vote. So, and I don't know the structure, if it's one vote per person or if there's a weighting voting system where, based on, well, anything really. It could be based on relationships, popularity, shares, compensation. It could be there's lots of different ways that you can structure board votes. But generally speaking, just for simplicity, it's one vote per person. And that's why they always have an odd number of people on the board. So that there can always be a deciding vote. But apparently she kind of vetoed Pochettino's return. I don't know if that's true. Please remember, guys, whenever I say these things, right, I'm not an ITK. I don't have any insight to the club. I just read what you guys read and have an opinion on it. So I'm just a fan. But yeah, from what I've read, she vetoed Pochettino. And so, like, she obviously has her opinions on who's the right manager. And I don't know what qualifies her for those sorts of things. She's not a football person. Neither are any of the others, for what it's worth. I'm not just pointing her out. But I don't believe that there is actually a football person on the board. They're all, in various degrees, experts in things that are outside of the remit of a football, like an expert in football matters. So I don't know whether or not you should have a board member that is necessarily an expert in football, because a board member is generally responsible for, for making sure that the club is sustainable and financially prudent. That's the business side of it. But as long as you just have people that are the directors of football, for example, or whatever, that are in charge, and that they have the mandate within their own responsibility and accountability to be able to make those decisions and can't get necessarily overruled. That's the ideal situation, but doesn't seem to have been that way for a while. Let's have a look. Mike audio is fine. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Planned retirement. Yeah, I think, well, that's what it sounds like. Morning, Sean. Haven't seen you on here for ages. Yeah, look, I'm pumping out the content for you guys. I'm pumping out the content, Got to make hay while the sun is shining. I missed out last summer because of the shenanigans. It was about this time last year that I was, everything was cooking with gas. Everything was going well with the channel. And then suddenly I had to say goodbye to I think I came back for like a week in October, and then I disappeared again until December or January. So, and then went away again for weeks during the early start of the year. So I'm not, as long as everything continues in this vein, then I'm going to keep pumping out as much content as I can, at the risk of being boring and repetitive. Good morning, all says no thanks. Morning to you, mate. Jews nuts. Donna's gone. Thank God. Useless PR person. Yeah, it wasn't much PR, was there? Although, to be fair, there has been some PR wins in the last couple of months at Tottenham, I think, with regards to the way that they did the tifos for the semi-final away leg. Everyone got a scarf. For the home leg, everyone got a flag. Or, actually everybody else got a flag, and people in the South Stand got a plastic bag to hold up. I was furious. I was like, what? Everyone else gets a flag, one of these type of things, which I finally got on the last day of the season, and they actually handed them out on the last day, which is fair enough. So some people have got 2 flags. I only got 1 flag, and sounds like a theme park, doesn't it? But I was mad. I was like, I'm in the South Stand and you're giving me a bloody plastic bag to hold up and everybody else gets a flag to wave. I want to go and move into the West Stand. Thanks very much. Does Tottenham even have a board? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We'll go through that stuff in a little while, I think. Morning, Marky. How you doing, mate? Mitchell Ogders. How you doing? Morning, Sean. As fans, we get mad and the owners for sacking managers, and now everyone's calling for Angie's head. We're a crazy fan base. Yeah, look, I just think, mate, Mitchell, I think it's one of those things, bro, where like Tottenham fans are always split on every decision because it's never clear, right? It's never clean on why. Like, it's just like, the history of Tottenham, that whenever we have something good, there's equally something bad to focus on. Whenever there's something bad, there's always something good in there as well. It's the yin and the yang of life at Tottenham as a Tottenham fan. And so depending on, what your personal priorities are, and I also think your relationship to the club, your proximity to them, like I do genuinely think, as much as I don't think that you are more of a fan if you go to the games or if you get away tickets, I think all of that stuff is about access and resources rather than your level of passion. But I do think that there's probably a higher percentage of people that are Ange in who don't have, who haven't, had to spend £1,500 on a season ticket and all the other costs that are involved in that, then and having had to watch what we've seen all season and then be told after the fact that no one cared about the league from January. I think that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean as much if you haven't spent the money because you're at home. I'm not saying it might mean as much on a passion level, but I think when there's the added consideration of, well, I paid for a full season ticket, should I get half my money back, seeing as no one cared about it, but I did. I think that is a factor, and I would imagine that there's probably a higher persuasion of people that are slightly more frustrated with the Premier League performance of the people that are match going. I'd imagine that there's a higher persuasion of them relative to the average fan or like the overall fan base, because they have essentially sacrificed half of their season ticket to a deprioritization. Even though I don't actually think it was deprioritized, I think that the philosophy was deprioritized for the cups, and that was what was the trigger for success. And cup football and league football are very different things. But you can't, for me, you can't deprioritize the league and then expect everybody to be okay with it. Like that's if that is the rationale in Angie's head. I'm sorry, you can't expect the fan base to be universally aligned behind someone who has basically said that your bread and butter isn't important. and the rare occasion is on the gamble that we won. If he'd gambled and we'd lost, and let's be honest, we were one Van der Ven high flick away from going 1-1, and then the momentum's in Manchester United's sails. And I believe if that happens, if that goes in, or if Vicario doesn't put in that last minute wonder save, I believe if that's 1-1 and we go to extra time, I think United win because of the momentum. And so all of that deprioritization would have been for nothing. Now, of course, it turned out that it did, right? It did work out. So he gambled and he went and we won. Levy gambled, right? A lot of Tottenham fans. It's really interesting, right? So I was on Sav's show yesterday, and there's a guy whose channel is called the Hotspur Hood. His name's Danny. Nice guy. Whenever I'm on the stream with him, we agree on so much, right? We agree on so much, but he always starts his comments. If I've said something and he's coming in to tell me that he agrees, he always starts with like, Sean, you and I don't always agree on things, or I don't always agree with you, but on that one I do. And I'm always like, I don't remember ever disagreeing with him. I think we think about life very much the same way. I think we both have a certain like thought process around trying to find logical consistency. And look, as long as, like I said before, like Sava and I don't land on the same endpoint on many things, but I always respect people that get to their argument and can explain how they get from A to B without jumping through hoops and being inconsistent. And I think that like Dan used to be or is a Levy outer, but right now he's saying, on the basis of either the buck stops at the top argument or just the basis of, if people are going to be on board the Ange, if people that were Ange out are now Ange in because of the win, then on that logic, you should also be giving Daniel Levy his flowers as well. But so many people still refuse to do it, or they do it when they're asked to. They do it when they're reminded of the logical requirement. No, he gets his credit, but one swallow doesn't make a summer, or there's not enough evidence for me to change all that, and that's all fine. But it's like getting blood, blood from a stone. It's very difficult to get them to kind of come to that consensus. But like I say, it's an interesting time in the Tottenham community because there's so many people that are like sort of figuring out now where they land on Tottenham because so much has changed in the last few months or last couple of weeks. Really, so much has changed, and so people's like norms, people's normalization of their viewpoints that have found them in various echo chambers is always used as like a negative. I don't mean it as a negative, but people hang around with people that that they agree with, right? So conviviality, I guess, is a magnet, and I just feel like at the moment there's a lot of people that are suddenly sort of shaking the tree with regards to people's opinions to find out, well, where exactly are you? Where are you now on Levy? Why are you where you are? Have you moved? Have you not? If you have, why? If you haven't, why? Does that make sense? Same with Ange. Same with the whole the whole belief of the club, because the kind of Spursy thing, at least temporarily, is out the window. And so there's a hell of a lot of like shifting of stances, like not allegiances, because that sounds like it's tribal, but like it just seems like, there's a guy called Scott M, who's in the comments. I've streamed with him a few times. He's from Canada, and never had an argument with him or anything. I've always found him whenever he's on a stream. I've always found him to be quite, very reasonable. Seems like a nice guy, and never had any issues with him. In the comment section, though, I've always found him to be quite negative about everything, like no one's good enough and stuff. And I would never have thought he and I would ever see eye to eye on certain topics. But yesterday in the comments, I was on a stream on Savage stream again. I was having like a ding dong with Danny Kiriakou about his Levy stance. It was late last night. It was about 11 o'clock or something. And and Scott M and I were like in the comment section, kind of agreeing with each other. So it's just a weird time when I think everyone is kind of unsure how they feel. Maybe like they're starting to find themselves in agreements with people that they've never agreed with before. They're starting to find themselves disagreeing with people that they've always been in agreement with prior. It's just a weird, fascinating kind of moment in the fan base, So, and then you have things like Change for Spurs, Change for Tottenham that have essentially been around for a couple of months and are trying to take the credit for boardroom shake-ups that, as I say, George Bannister has realigned my knowledge on it and said actually it's nothing to do with either of those things. It's a pre-planned thing from a year ago. Was it the 75 people at the last protest that did it? Yeah, exactly. Ange out, says Joseph. Bugsy replacing the Donna. If you'd like that. More balls, please, and more bones. Drewzilla, big up to you, mates. Please smash the like. Yeah, guys, there's nearly 500 people here. Smash the like if you don't mind. Monday, 11:45 in the morning. Let's see what we can get up to. Can we get up to 200 likes or something? We really appreciate that. We're going to start getting through the news in a second, guys. Just sort of get that little morning monologue out of the way. Thomas Frankin, says Joseph. Well, according to reports, in fact, I'll get some. I'm going to need to share my screen in a second, so I might as well start the process right now. Let's have a look at the bookmarks, shall we? Hang on one sec. So, in no particular order, Brentford will receive a compensation package of just under 10 million if Tottenham decide to bring him to the club. See, that's another consideration, right? And again, I don't know. I think that is probably true. I've read that in a few different places. £10 million compensation to Brentford, £7 million compensation to Ange. It's a lot of money, isn't it? 17 million quid to I'm not sure it's anything more than a sideways step. You know, I've always said I'll understand if the club decide to stick with him. I think it's unforgivable that he's scored 22, that he's got 22 league losses, but I think it's unforgettable that he won us our most decorated trophy in 40 years. You know, so your personal persuasion. What's more important, the unforgivable bit or the unforgettable bit? You know, that to me is where everyone needs to land. And I think that, you know, it's entirely understandable why the swings happen in the polls. I was on We Are Tottenham TV late last night at like 1:00 in the morning, and there was a poll on that one that was like, are you Ange in or Ange out? Or do you lean a certain way? Like the same sort of poll I did, like, you know, are you leaning one way or the other, or are you completely Ange in or Ange out? And essentially it was 62% Ange in on their audience over like a 2,000 person poll. And we did the same thing here yesterday. And it was 63% Ange out. So I guess maybe the audiences are just slightly different. You know, I don't know their analytics. I know that my analytics leans towards slightly older. I think the average age of a Spurs talk show watcher is like between 45 and 55. I don't know if We Are Tottenham TV swing a little bit younger or older. I doubt they'd be older than that. But so anyway, maybe there's the demographic as well. Maybe there's more people from Korea. Maybe there's more people from Australia that are watching their show. I'm not sure, but it's just interesting that on two different channels at the same time on the same day you can have that big of a swing. And there was about the same amount of people voting and the same people watching. So smash the like and subscribe. Thomas Frankin. Morning also. Caveman, morning to you, mate. Morning, guys. Good to see you. Gonzo. Hi, Brian. This was meant to happen last year. They just didn't get around to it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I found. I didn't realise that, Ian. I didn't realise that, mate. More to come. Lang, maybe. We'll find out. Depends if there was any expedition of that process, because Vini said, yeah, it's a good time for you to go, mate. If you didn't do it last year, why not? Can you go now, please? Not that he has the mandate to do that. So be interesting. Could this be clearing the decks for a takeover or partial takeover? I don't know. Like I said at the start, I just imagine that if it was supposed to happen last year, but it didn't happen, then it obviously was on the cards. But the fact that it happened today, on Vini's first day, is that just like coincidental, or is it more like, you know, Donna's saying, look, new guy's coming in, going to want to have his say on things. I'm going to have a vote on some of the things that get their way up to the board that need board approval. And on that basis, because I'm on my way out, it's probably silly me having a vote on things that may or may not get in the way of his new direction, his vision. So perfect time to leave, you know. So let's not make more of it than it needs to be. But either way, I think like the reaction from the fan base is universally, it's well accepted and well received. And that must be a good thing. Be interesting to know what happens if there's going to be a new board member to replace. And if so, is that going to be a head of PR? Vini's very much known for his fan engagement, right? Whenever he was at Arsenal, he was known and was celebrated for the amount of times that he got together and did his fan engagement, meetups or whatever. And I don't think they were cherry picked as well. Lubo always see. I love Lubo, right? Because with Lubo, you have someone that definitely knows. He's definitely got his ear to the grindstone on things that are going on, like in that sort of world. He's clearly interested in the boardroom kind of politics of football, but he also then comes at it with a fan perspective that's incredibly like biased, if you like, by his venom and his hatred towards Daniel Levy. So you have this incredible mixture of someone who knows a lot and you're interested in what he's saying because you might learn a thing or two about things you didn't know. But at the same time, you have to take everything that he says that is subjective with a pinch of salt. So listen for the objective, watch out for the subjective. And with Lubo personally, this is a funny, because I love him to pieces, but he does describe things as fact about Daniel Levy that are very much opinion. So like I say, listen for the objective, watch out for the subjective, and make sure that you're not listening to him telling you things are objective when they are subjective, because you might get led astray. And that's not a dig at him, because I just love his passion. Like, I've never seen a guy get so angry. It's like Hulk smash whenever Daniel Levy's name comes up on Savage Show. It's fantastic. Where do we get to? The trophy alone gives Ange a second chance. Why is everyone Ange out? Well, I say maybe because people. I said, like, the trophy is unforgettable, but the league position was unforgivable. I think, if you want to summarize it, and so a lot of people are going to remember that stuff and go, "Yep, thank you," but this, other people are like, "What about that? Look at this." So it just depends on your persuasion, Destiny. We've got a story about you today, mate. We've got a story out about you, Destiny. So Manchester City have moved forward for Ryan Ait-Nouri, the Wolves left back. He's a really good player. I would love to have had him to come in and play, mix it up with Destiny Udogie. But it looks like he's going to Manchester City, and consequently, then you can take Destiny Udogie off of the City shortlist. But Destiny Udogie is on the AC Milan shortlist. There's more stories out about that today. And Theo Hernandez possibly leaving AC Milan, and Tottenham apparently are possibly interested in him. I brought that story to you guys. I think it was yesterday or the day before. It's out there in a few more aggregators today. So again, I'm never actually sure, right? Because sometimes, like you think, like, I'm just a fan, right? And I'm reporting the news. But obviously, like, when some of these videos go out to 20,000 people or whatever, some people probably are also, that are in the journalist space, are probably also watching some of these videos. It's not saying that from any kind of like, big up thing. It's just more of like there's a possibility that's happening. And consequently, sometimes I say things and try and infer, well, what does this mean if that means? You know how I go on those like random weaves, and then a day or two later on, you see that same weave being written in a blog that then gets shared around, and you're like, are we all just like, is it the snake that's eating its tail thing? Everyone's just one cyclical level of bullshit. This is going around, and it just jumps up and up and up and up and gets spun out of control. Sky reporting her title as executive director. Yeah. Well, she definitely was. Executive director versus non-exec for sure. I was on the fence about Ange, but now it really looks like he's heading out the door. I do feel deflated. Be careful what you wish for, guys, says Luke. Good to see you, Luke. Sean, thanks for Tottenham taking credit for Donna Cullen leaving is shameful. Even Henry Wright, isn't that shameful, Matthew? We couldn't have done it without you guys. It's you. No, it's you. And you. Not us, it's you. Yeah, sure. It's none of you. The girl was retiring. Let's just call it what it is, shall we? Tony lots of people questioning why he might get sacked. This is it. See, like, it's just a split fan base. Yo, Sean, good morning to you. Sar, good morning to you. What are we doing here? We're how far down the list? There's lots of comments. Let me see where we're up to. Thomas Frankin, more flat caps to chew. That's right. Good to see you, Chris. How you doing, mate? How you doing? Another board shake-up, maybe because of Levy, because of Vini. Theo Hernandez is lazy, won't work for this club. Yeah, I know he's not the guy he was a few years ago, was he? He was brilliant before. But he certainly is a leader. You know, he's done it all. He's won it all. Experience, Champions League level. I've always thought of him as a monster professional, but to be honest, like I've always said, I don't watch massive amounts of Serie A matches. I do watch them in the Champions League or the Europa League, etc. But 2 weeks of joy, then deflation. Woohoo, says MSMI. Mussy. Lisa has lent on her phone. Pocket dial, Lisa. Pocket dial. Good to see her. What are we doing here? Ange out so we can return to our Spursy ways. Ange is joining the board. Sack Ange. Spurs on Instagram just posted something with tomorrow's date, a video saying take the vow. What? Take the vow. That's interesting. What could that be? Let's speculate, guys. Let's speculate. Lisa's still leaning on her keyboard. Lisa, what are you up to? Or Liz, Lisa. I'm not sure what you're doing. Yeah, more of the same from Liz. Sensational stuff. Bruh, Spurs really sacked the winning manager. Not yet, mate. Not yet. At 58, you swing older, Alan. Easy. Enough of your Friday nights for me. 36, is that reacting to the new kit launch tomorrow, going by the video Spurs Ledley just posted. And said, what, 10 million compensation, compendious, plays over a half a year's wages for Xavi or Inzaghi. Exactly, mate, exactly. Right, let's get up some of these stories for you. Please smash the like, guys. There's 550 odd people here. Love to see it on a Monday lunchtime, not even lunchtime. In a minute, I'm going to have to run for a wee. I didn't time myself, so I'm going to put the stream on pause for a second. Put some pause music, some elevator music on, and put the I'll be right back. But let's get into some of these stories. So Brentford, yeah. So we got the Brentford compensation package. So Matthew Colcott is another director. In fact, let me find that one. There's a better story about that. Where is it? We've got Matisse Tell to talk about as well. Here we go. Company's House has now listed a change in director details for both Donna Cullen and Matthew Colcott, who is the operations and finance director. Tottenham say no announcement planned on Colcott, but sources believe it indicates a change in his position or role. And then he followed up, this guy, Matt Law, and said, it is believed some of Matthew Colcott's personal details have been changed, which may explain the Company's House notification on him. So we're not sure. But don't forget that there are some, Johnny talks about it a lot. Charrington House, I think it is, that have come in to, to bring some sort of guile and structure towards the financial thing with a view to getting this financial investment. So I don't know much about Matthew Colcott's specific role. I don't think he's done a bad job. Look, if he's the finance director, then obviously he's a smart cookie and he's done well with the finances at Tottenham. And again, this could be a nothing burger. Matt Law's saying it could just be his personal details have changed. But then the first thing here is saying that there's no official announcement regarding Matthew Colcott that's planned, but sources believe it indicates a change in his position or role. So look, lots of things may be changing all at the same time. Again, so then it goes back to this idea of Donna Cullen. Well, was it planned? It was planned, but when was it planned to happen? Well, we don't know. So if it's all happening at the same time, then is this what I said? Is it a nuke that Vini's come in? And like I say, Vini as the CEO doesn't have the mandate. He doesn't have the legal authority to shake up the board. That's not a CEO can't do that unless the CEO is also on the board and then has, dominant voting rights and things, and then they can do what they want. But if the CEO is just the CEO of a division and doesn't have a board space, then they can't come in and say, you're gone, all that stuff. But what he could do is have had conversations and come in and said, look, I think, this is the way forward. This is what we should be doing here. this is what we did at Arsenal and it worked and yada, yada, yada. And if Daniel Levy has listened to him, then maybe all of those conversations around the structure of Tottenham that needs to go in a new direction, then that doesn't have to be at the forced hand of Vini, which it can't be, but it can all be part of an advisory consultancy that has then manifested through Daniel Levy, through the board members, into those discussions, into those votes, and into things that then obviously materially change the outcome. And so there's more than one way to skin a cat, is what I'm saying. And on that, on that basis, then are we guilty of even like pretending that there won't be a significant change in the football side as well? Let me pull that away for a second. So, like, if there, again, this is all speculation. Like I say, I don't know anything. Right? I just like to hypothesize and go on weaves and thought experiments with you guys. But on that basis, like, if those things are happening on the same day that Vini joins, and then there's reports everywhere. I think Ben Jacobs is saying it. There's an article from Ali Gold I'm going to come to in a minute. Right? If they're saying like major changes are happening at Tottenham this summer, then by extension of that, if they're changing loads of things at the boardroom level, you'd imagine that also means Scott Munn is probably gone. Johan Lang. I know that the aforementioned story was that Johan Lang is going to be working under Paratici, but I just don't know if that's always good. So you had Paratici, he had to go because of his misdeeds in Italy. We're still working as a consultancy basis, but not directly involved. This other guy comes in, Scott Munn. He brings in Johan Lang. He brings in his manager, whereas Paratici didn't want Ange. Paratici wanted someone else, but Scott Munn gets the vote. He still was a consultancy basis, getting edged out a little bit to the point where he was having conversations with AC Milan. Daniel Levy clearly has a relationship with him. Maybe Paratici's come back in the back door rather than going through the chain of command to his boss, which would have been Scott Munn, and then, or even maybe Lang to Munn, and then up to Daniel Levy. He might have gone round the back door, had a word with Levy, and all of these things have happened where now Paratici's looking increasingly likely, almost certain to come back. And the fact that Lang was his successor, right? And then Paratici's now going to come back in to work with Vini and Levy. Is Scott Munn really going to be there? Because Scott Munn would be, if what I'm saying is true, is going to be annoyed the fact that Paratici went round the back to speak to Daddy Daniel. So that relationship is going to be toxic. And then if you're Johan Lang, that you succeeded him, he's now back and above you in charge. It's like the assistant becomes the boss, becomes the assistant to the former assistant that's now the boss again. And I just think that all of those things create all sorts of ego issues and conflicts and just like, a situation where people aren't going to be wanting to pull it all in the same direction. Like if you're threatened by the guy that's coming in, or if you're threatened by the guy that's coming up or whatever, and he makes an idea that you think that might make him look better, are you going to get on board it for the betterment of the club? Or are you going to say no because you're worried more about your position in the stack rank, in the pecking order, that can come from someone having success that you should also be trying to compete for? All of those, I've seen it a million times. I've seen it, like, politics in corporations is fascinating, but it's ferocious, it's toxic, it's poisonous. And so many people end up falling on their sword because their egos got in the way. And in the end, it can be just disharmony and contrary to the trend and just spoiling the broth, right? And so I think that sometimes, you have to work out like whether there's too many chiefs. And I think that in a world where Lang is here, Munn is here, Vini's here, Levy's never letting go of the reins entirely, no matter what he promises, and Paratici, and then whoever Paratici wants to come back, Gabbanini might come back as well in some format, although he wanted the job and didn't get it. And so if Gabbanini comes back, is he really going to want to talk with Lang? Because Lang was the guy who got the job when Gabbanini asked for it and didn't get it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things where there's too much going on. And with all of that, how can anyone come to a decision where everyone is in agreement that it's the best decision for the club? And I think you're going to end up with egos that are just splitting hairs and fighting over things. So I hope that that's not something that materializes. And that's why I'd love to see that if this is a structural readjustment right now that's happening with Donna leaving, maybe with this guy, Matthew Colcott, then with it, you would imagine there'd be also wholesale changes with regards other things too. I'm going to come back to the Twitter in a second. I'm just going to catch up with the chat because I think there's a couple of super chats here, which I've got to say. Thank you very much to Dermatron. Big up, Sean. I broke last night. Big up, Sean. I broke last. What did you break? Oh, you broke last night. Ange has been sacked. Well done, mate. He hasn't been sacked though yet. There's lots of people saying that it's been backed. But if you did say that, then well, hopefully it works out right for your credibility, Dermatron. I hope so, buddy. Rooting for you, mate. Rooting for you. Thank you for the super chat. Hope you're well, Sean. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you, mate. I will. You too, buddy. You too, my man. Thank you very much for your donation, your generous donations. Really appreciate you, Nathan McCreary, mate. Massive one. Thank you so much. It's really nice, mate. Really, really nice of you. Very generous. Levy's rotating door of managers has to stop if this club is to have long-term success. Ange in, have a drink on me and buy Johnny a beer too. Come on, you Spurs. Thank you, Nathan. I really will. I will definitely. He doesn't really drink beer. I'll buy him a bottle of Perrier or something, or I'm not sure. Maybe I'll get him. Maybe I'll try and get him on those Magnums. Those, you sound like I think you must be for a dollar sign. A, it must be early for you over there, and B, are you a helicopter pilot or something? Is that like? I know it's like a gaming mic. But if you haven't been to maybe you have been to Tottenham, but if you ever get a chance to come over, mate, go to one of the local convenience stores. There's hundreds of them on the high street, on the high road. They sell these little bottles of absolute gold juice called Magnum. It's like a Jamaican tonic wine. I mean, I live in a predominantly white area, like in a suburb of Surrey, and so they don't sell those drinks here because there's not like a big market for them. But I'm genuinely considering going and buying like 1,000 of them and seeing if I can start a little mini market, because I think white people in my neighborhood don't know what, like there'll be a population boom. Doing our thing for the world. That stuff gives you a little rat-a-ta-ta in your belly, if you know what I mean. Thank you very much, mate. I'll certainly enjoy that Magnum on you, mate. I appreciate you. And look, to your point, I totally agree that there does need to be a bit more of a stability within the sort of the footballing side of the operation. I'm just saying that for me, I think that with Ange Postecoglou, I think that his league form is terrifyingly bad, and I don't think that you can take the fact that a cup competition, which is entirely different, and think that that's going to suddenly transition and translate into league football. I don't understand the arguments. For the people that I stream with that are like super Ange in, I say, like, why are you Ange? What's going to materially change? Like, we're champions now. I'm like, yeah, I know we are. And I said that before. I said that all the start of the year. I said, there's an unknown in what, European Cup glory can do to a player and a team. Like, the wind can be in the sails, and it can leave an indelible mark on the confidence of young men. Like, almost like the inversion of a player that gets a bad injury and then always really unconfident, never really trusts his knee again or his ankle or whatever. He's always going into things. Or if you've got a hamstring, are you really trusting of your body to go into full sprint mode? And I just think that you could make the opposite argument that a 19-year-old like Lucas Berghvall or a 17-year-old like Micky Moore being a Europa League winner, I mean, it's not something that many footballers ever get to say they are. And these kids doing it before they're old enough to drink a beer, it's wild. And that is an unknown, right? And so there is an unknown impact of disrupting that harmony, because absolutely there are loads of evidence of players that are behind Ange. I don't think all of them are. I think there's a few players that would probably be happy to see the back of Ange. I'd imagine Jed Spence is not a massive fan of Ange Postecoglou for the way he seems to have feels like he's been treated. I think Archie Gray might be okay to see the back of Ange because he was sort of used and then chucked away a little bit. And I think James Maddison as well. I don't think that James Maddison has a lot of love for Ange Postecoglou. Maybe a lot of that stuff was sort of blown away when we won the cup and everyone's like all forgotten. But I think that there's a few players in that. I don't think Richie necessarily maybe has that much. Like, even though Ange didn't do anything wrong to Richie, Richie's body let him down. But Richie seems to be angry all the time with, like other people not. I don't know how. You know what? I'll move on from that because I'm not even sure how I feel about it. But so there's definitely an unknown, right, in change, and there's definitely risk in change, and that's why people like Thomas Frank. I'm like, is it really worth rolling that dice for? I don't mind. If they do it, I'll get on board. I'll get on board whatever the outcome is. I always will. Start of a season, my optimism is always high, and I'll get behind whatever the outcome is. Either way, the manager needs to have better players, and we're going to come to that stuff in a second. We've got the Sane story. It's going up again today. It's notching up that Tottenham are basically going. I said yesterday. I said that the story was out that Tottenham. Apparently it's done, but it's 8 days from being kind of official. But what's this? Love to Sean is Ange out. Chat goes mad. Sean, stop making shit up. What am I making up? What am I making shit up? I think that I think that Ange Post. I think that Richie has demonstrated a frustration at his lack of playing time. There was an article. There was a conversation where he went back to Portugal, back to Brazil. So I don't think it's made up at all. But it is a projection, yeah, for sure. This is what we do here. We hypothesize. I'm not trying. By the way, I don't want anyone to be influenced by my opinions. Never. I'm just talking to you lot. Don't ever go, Sean thinks this, therefore I should think this too. Never do that. I'm not trying to shape your opinions. I'm just telling you mine. Please, for the love of God, never ever. I should put a disclaimer out. Please, for the love of God, never ever ever change your opinion because of mine. For God's sake. Yeah, Richie's always injured. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, mate. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that if Richie said all that stuff, I said that it's not Ange's fault or Tottenham's fault or anyone else's fault. It's Richie's body that's let him down. That's what I'm saying. But with regards Ange, I think that there's a massive risk in the disruption to that harmony. I think it's real. I think it's relevant. And anyone that's on the Ange out that doesn't acknowledge that, I think they're being. I mean, I don't want the word disingenuous sounds like it's deceitful, like the intention is to mislead. I just think that they're blinkered. It's a better word. I think blinkered or naive is more of an innocent way of describing that notion. I think that people that are Ange out, for the love of God, we finished 17th. I think that it's a relevant idea, relevant mindset. I think it's logical that the cup is cup. It's cup football. It's a one-off, luck, variances, variables, all those things. Different day, different outcome, yada, yada, yada. But I think that they're not baking in that there is a risk to the lack of continuity. And I think that, as I say, there is that unknown around what does the confidence and the wind in your sails of a Champions winning or like a Europa League championship team do for next season. We don't know the answer. We won't know the answer. We will never know if we sack Ange, but we won't know until it happens either way. But at the same time, I think the people that are Ange in, I think if they don't acknowledge that the people that are looking at the league have a relevant point, I think they are also being a little bit blinkered by the moment. So, as always with Tottenham, it's never one nor the other. It's 50-50, isn't it? Or it's something around 50-50. It's a shade of grey. Let's go back to the chat. Let's see where we got to. Thank you very much for the super chat, though, Nathan. I appreciate you, mate, and I will enjoy that, Maggers. Would you take Elliot Anderson from Forest? How many games did he play last year? Isn't he got an injury problem? 87% of starting 11 minutes. No, I wouldn't. But the reason my initial instinct was to say no, because I thought he was injury prone, but he actually played more minutes. But just the fact that I watched most of Nottingham Forest games last year and thought he was out injured must have meant that he was a little bit invisible to me at times. But I think he's a good player, a very good player for sure. He's going to go on to a good career. I just I think that Tottenham need a better midfielder than that, mate. I think that Tottenham need it's the most important position. It's the most important position for the summer. We're going to talk about Leroy Sané in a second. I'll bring it up now, actually. Fuck it. let's just go for it. But yeah, Elliot Anderson, very good player, mate. But like, I don't, even people that say that just go and get Adam Wharton and pay 60 million quid. Excuse me. You missed the boat on Adam Wharton, and I don't think you're going to get 60 million quid's worth of value out of him. He's a very good player, but I think you either go and find the next one like a Hayden Hackney or a Joe Bellingham or whoever insert young player there. In fact, with Joe Bellingham, you're going to be paying that sort of money anyway, so that's kind of irrelevant. But with regards the six role, I don't think we should be just focusing on young players and also English players as the primary source for such an important position. You can go and do that stuff. We've already done it for what it's worth with a lot of the players that are in the squad. But if you need two players in every position, and you want to also augment your squad towards making sure you have enough homegrown, making sure you've got enough youth, and you're buying for the future, and that there's an asset appreciation model in place, and all those things that I think are necessary, and I can give them the time of my mind, right? I can understand why they're important. But when you have like a crucial position on the pitch, and you currently don't have a monster in it for your first team, let alone your kind of your squad, then you put all that shit to one side and you just go and find the player that you need, irrelevant of the profile. Like, you don't go and get, if there's two players out there, one of them's Brazilian and he's 27 and he's 40 million quid, or the other one's 18 and he's also 40 million quid, you don't go and get the 40 million quid who's an unknown entity that might become good if you're filling that position and it's your crucial number one spot and you currently are weak in that area. No, you go and get the monster wherever he's from, whatever age, if it's the right fit and he elevates you, that's where you prioritize. You can go and get like a second, like if Tottenham want to go and get like an 18-year-old wing back, a fullback, right? We've got 3 good fullbacks at the club. We need a 4th. If Tottenham are still desperate to go and find like another youth-centric player that also helps with the homegrown. I mean, I'll even get on board the Kyle Walker-Peters thing, even though he's obviously not young, but he is club-trained homegrown. And so he helps for that number for the Champions League thing. And so I'll even get on board it if you want to go down that path. But if there's like other things that are at play in the talent ID that are not all about what's the best thing for the team right now, then you do that in positions where you already are advanced and you're skilled up and you're just looking for like support or leveling up the kind of the depth. Do it there. But when you need a 6 and you don't have a 6 that's anywhere near good enough, you don't fucking think about whether he's homegrown and 18. You just go, no, who's the best player and how much are we going to do? Polinia at Bayern Munich, out of favour and could take him on loan. Yes, exactly. Like that, Lee, is, been saying it for months, right? That's my, I think a lot of us have been saying it for a long time, to be honest, but that's the sort of thing where he's 29 years old, right? There's no sell-on value. If Tottenham are going to go and get him and use the Harry Kane money, I've not even seen any links regarding this. I think this is something that the YouTube creators and the comment sections are pushing. But like, I think that with if there was an ability to get it done, right? Daniel Levy's going to sit there and go, well, how can you justify it, right? You pay 40 million quid, you're paying the guy 200 grand a week. There's no sell-on value. Yeah, but okay, how do you qualify the value in a player like that when the club is always leaning towards, asset attributions and those things? Well, you qualify it by saying, how many more points is Polinia going to give the team? His presence sat in front of this system, in an Ange system, his presence in the 6, just offlaying the ball to Berghvall, letting Berghvall spread his legs, Bentancur on the 8 again as well. Bentancur and Berghvall can figure it out. Bentancur can then be free to do what he does brilliantly, etc. Or Hugo Larsson or a Morten Højlund or whoever. Then with that, you have maybe 16 more points, 18 more points. And that's probably worth an extra 25 million quid, right? 20 million quid in merit money just in one season. You do that every season, you paid for the player. So, obviously that's all hypothetical. It doesn't work out if the geezer breaks his leg on the first day, obviously. But just on a kind of, how do you qualify the kind of rationale for an experienced player that has very little sell-on value, but it's going to cost you a lot of money? It's what he brings to the team and what his absence, or the alternative of going for a Archie Gray. And all due respect to Archie, I'm sure he's going to be a great player, but that hasn't really worked out just yet, has it? A lot of money for a player that didn't, when he was given the chance to play in the 6 at the end of the season. And again, don't take my words and twist them here. I'm not saying it's a dead duck or anything like that, a lame duck. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, on balance, would you rather have had Archie Gray? Would you rather have had Polinia? It's okay to have an Archie Gray type environment if you've already got depth elsewhere, or if you're trying to get depth, but you've got your monster. But we don't have anything in the 6. So don't fuck around with 18-year-olds and 20 and English players just because they're English and they're young. That shouldn't be part of the profile. Sean, I thought for some time that if Ange was to move on, Forest would be his next job where the owner is a fan. Yeah, the problem, I don't know if Forest are set up to play Ange ball though, mate. Forest, can you imagine Milenkovic playing in a high line? That guy would go from top draw centre-back to exposed every day. Even Murillo, right? Like, even Gibbs White in Alanga. All of the players that are set up to do that sort of football, you switch that and go to a high line, and if everything's compressed, wouldn't work. But if like the idea of working for a fan of a club sort of thing, or sorry, an owner that's a fan. I mean, Daniel Levy's a fan, right? Daniel Levy's a fan. I mean, he might not always act like a fan, but I'm not sure if it's necessarily a good thing for an owner to be acting like a fan all the time, judging by the fans that we see that change their mind every 5 minutes and that think that we're playing Football Manager. I think the club, if you had like a traditional fan, like, no disrespect to any of us that were running that club, running Tottenham Hotspur, pretty sure we'd be out of business in about 3 weeks. Great point, Sean. That's the mistake I think Spurs made last season. We got kids to fill key spots, get quality experience. Yeah, exactly. I won't hark on it again, but I think that I understand the need for it. I just don't think you should do it for your first choice player. I think you should do it once you're set up and filled in that spot. Then go and get some of those guys. Frank is a glorified Sean Dyche. I actually quite like Sean Dyche, to be honest. I like Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche is like the English Ange. Johnny was doing a Sean Dyche. Johnny was doing an Ange impression on a stream a couple of days ago, and then Sean Dyche's name came up, and he went and did the Sean Dyche impression, and the only difference was that he didn't put that Australian inflection in the end of every sentence. Oh, yeah, mate. Well, that is, yeah, mate. That's Sean Dyche, Ange. Yeah, mate. Yeah, mate. They're exactly the same. Exactly the same impression. I'd take Sane, Gomez, and Kyle Walker-Peters on freeze if it gives us the financial ability to bring in an Eze, Gyökeres, Branthwaite, Hincapi. Could end up because I think we got to forget about Gyökeres, guys. Like I can't see him coming to Tottenham. Although, like I say, I do think that this season, this summer, I could be well wrong on this. I'm well wrong on so many things. I love to speculate, and you lot love to tell me when I was wrong a year later. I remember someone in who was it in? I was in We. I was in We Are Tottenham TV's chat. We were Tottenham TV last night at 1 a.m. and we were having a ding dong about something. I forget. It was obviously about Ange. And I said something, and I think we were talking about Richie or Sankey or whoever it was. And then someone in the chat went, "No, Sean Butler's still waiting for Emmanuel Dennis, who was a player that, like, I haven't mentioned his name in nearly 3 years." But it was when Richie signed for us, I was like, why are we signing that bum? We might as well, 60 million quid for him. We might as well have gone and got Emmanuel Dennis. He scored more goals for Watford than Richie did for Everton, and Watford were rooted at the bottom of the table. And then for like a week after that, everyone was saying Sean Butler wants Emmanuel Dennis. He ended up going to, I think it was Forest. I forget where he went. Was it Forest he went to? And he didn't hit it out of the park. And then I never mentioned it again, but like for the next couple of months, everyone was like, yeah, good, yeah, Sean wanted Emmanuel Dennis. I didn't want Emmanuel Dennis. I'm just saying that if you're going to go and get a guy who only scores 10 goals a season, then you, rather than paying 60 million quid for Brazil's number 9, go and pay 8 million quid for Emmanuel Dennis. That was the argument. Never thought about it again, never said it again. And then last night, someone brings it up. You lot never forget. Like, I like to just hypothesize and have thought experiments. And some of you lot, it's almost like you're writing things down and put it in some like archive somewhere. What did Butler say then? No, I'm going to drag that one out. sorting out the keyword analysis so that whenever I mention something, has he said something about Richalison before? Let's find out. Yes, he did on August the 19th, 2023. He said that Richalison wasn't as good as Emmanuel Dennis. You got to be careful, you lot. You're assassins with the receipts. Let's see what I meant. The Forest owner is a fan of Ange. Oh, is he? Okay, that'd be interesting. Yeah, but like I say though, even if he was, I'm sure Daniel Levy's a fan of him. To be entirely honest, mate, I'm sure I would be a massive mate. I think I would love to have a beer with Ange Postecoglou. I'm sure he's a great guy, but I think Forest team is set up and they spent a lot of money and they've got it very much right. But if they were to now pivot to a different type of manager, like if Nuno was to go, they need continuity as well. They've gone in that direction and now it would just take too long to turn that ship around. Should Spurs fans go to league games? Ange doesn't care about the league. Well, this is it, George. As I say, that's one of the things that just annoyed me. It just annoyed me when he said, yeah, the league was deprioritised from January. Okay. Well, then I'll just deprioritise paying my season ticket, shall I? I want half my season ticket back because I'm not paying you a full season ticket for half a season's worth of effort. It's just... I remember when the Newcastle United fans got given their refunds for losing 5-0 when Hugo Lloris, or 5-1 it was, wasn't it? When Hugo Lloris walked off the pitch at half-time and never put his gloves on again for the club and then had the audacity to talk about the insufficient despondency at the lack of losing the Champions League final when he blamed the owner. I was like, fuck you, bro. And that is, well, I said, let's go on these random tangents, don't we? But that's why I think that it might be a good time for Ange to leave, even for himself, because the only way it gets better for him is if next season is a ridiculous improvement on the league, and then have some sort of maintenance of form in the cups, right? Like get to a semi. I'm not saying you have to win anything, but get to a semi-final in the domestics, get to the quarters in the Champions League, and get to fifth or sixth in the Premier League, and I would still say that's a pretty decent season, considering what we have to navigate and negotiate. But I don't think that's going to happen with him. So, what I think might happen is that everyone that remembers him fondly now, if he stinks it out next season, then I think he will. He'll be remembered less fondly than if he was to leave now. If he was to leave now, he can leave with his head held high as a champion. He will forever be remembered as a legend by those that are sycophants of his now. And even those that are Ange out will always remember him fondly for what he did. There's a lot of people that are in the Ange... I say a lot of people in the Ange in community are not there's no conviction in it. Some people have conviction, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people are like, no, he's earned it. We'll give him 10 games and see. I think a lot of people in the Ange outside are not conviction Ange out. They're just, it's the right time to leave, mate. It's not going to get better than this for you here. So don't, if you leave now, it's thank you next. And we'll always, same with Sonny. At what point do you say goodbye to Sonny? People some people go, oh, Sean, you hate Sonny. I'd love Sonny. What I don't want to happen is for Sonny to decline more. And then we remember the kind of geriatric version of him rather than the absolute, ball breaking version of him that he was, up until last season. At some point, you have to say goodbye. At some point, he's kicked his last ball. And I think the last time he kicked the ball was in the Europa League final as captain, lifting the cup. That's just a brilliant way to say goodbye. You don't want him to become Hugo Lloris. Who remembers Hugo Lloris fondly? Some do. Most people remember him being that prat who walked off the pitch against Newcastle and never came back on. Kind of poisoned his own legacy a little bit in that last 18 months. And I don't want that to happen to Ange. I don't want that to happen to Sonny. So, yeah, leave on the crest of the wave, says Daniel. Yeah, appreciate that. Where are we going here? Where are we going? Wenger out. Okay. Lloris was an overrated clown keeper. You see? People don't remember him for the wonderful player that because he was a great goalkeeper for Tottenham. He was wonderful. But he just stayed at the party too long and became sloppy drunk. Became sloppy drunk. Anyway, let's go back to the. Have I got any more super chats to call out? Oh, we got one from Nicky Boy Lazy 8. Big up, mate. Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this program should not be taken seriously by anyone that wants to be taken seriously. I'm actually going to go to Fiverr today and get one of those things made up by a voice coach. Disclaimer: views are not included. That's brilliant, Nick. Thank you for your super chat, mate. Taylor, thank you for the continued support, mate. Member for 35 months, my man. You joined 3 weeks after I became eligible for memberships, and you've been a Spurs Talk Show pony as well. The top membership that you can have, the £5 version, ever since, mate. That's really nice of you, buddy. I love you to pieces, Nick. It's always great. And whenever you come over, I'm always shocked how tall you are. For some reason, not that I had any reason to think this, but for some reason, I always like a lot of people had this idea about me. I'm sure you're much taller than I thought. And you are also. You're 6'1", aren't you? You're a big guy and a brilliant lad as well, mate. So thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate you. Where did we get to on these? So multiple meetings between Thomas Frank and Spurs have taken place, says Ben Jacobs. A decision on Ange Postecoglou's future is expected this week. But apparently the decision's already been made. It just hasn't been articulated yet. Daniel Levy's back at work today. Oh, that'll be funny. I went to bed last night at 2 a.m. and I got up at 6 o'clock this morning because I was ready to go. I had those Dragasin vibes from January 24 when I opened my eye at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, what's going on? And the first thing I saw was a tweet. It was like 30 seconds ago. Fabrizio Romano tweets. I was like, I wonder what that is. And it said, drag us into Tottenham, here we go. And I fucking jumped out of bed. I was like, put the coffee on. Bring me up a vodka and orange. We got business. And I went live, and I was like, Henry, get your fucking ass out of bed. And it was the most viewed or the most live watched. It was like 2,200 people or something that was tuning in. As the early bird catches the worm. The early bird catches the worm on that sort of news. And I thought it was going to happen today. So I was out of bed at 6 o'clock. I'm absolutely shattered. And waiting to see if there was going to be a here we go. But there wasn't. Super chat from Malaysia player. Thank you, mate. Says, if Kane can leave, so can Ange. Badge first. 100%, mate. 100%, buddy. You know. But like I say, I don't. If they decide to keep him, I understand it. Like, just present me a logical argument, and I don't care if I agree or I don't. I'll shake hands with the idea that you've come to the decision that you've come to based on common sense, and I think that anything that's logical, you don't have to agree with it to say that it can also be common sense. So, if he stays, I'll get behind it. I'll get on board it. I'll support him. Still not going to fall in love with his words anymore, but you know, that ship has sailed. Finn McMullen, thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. I love your dog. What sort of doggy is that? Is that one of those dogs? Is that one of the ex-bully things that have got to wear muzzles now? It's a disgrace. I don't know why they had to cull all those dogs. Why couldn't they just take away their ability to reproduce and then let the breed die out organically, if you know what I mean? Because it's saying goodbye to. I think that's the type of dog you have. I hope he's still alive. I hope he's not having a torturous time. Oh, it's a Staffy, is it? Oh, okay. That might be one of the next ones on it, because they're misunderstood dogs as well, aren't they? Staffies. But he's a beautiful looking thing. Thank you very much for the super chat, mate. Thank you very much for the super chat. It's a joke to sack the manager after he has full control of the changing room. Well, it's a consideration, Daniel, for sure, mate. Like I say, there's disruption. On one hand, you say that players will get over it. You know, like if you break up with your girlfriend, you'll get over it. But some people go into meltdown when they lose. I had a boss, right? The best boss I ever had when I was working in Australia. Best boss I ever had. He was so cool. He gave you he empowered you to have a go. He didn't chastise you for making mistakes as long as you learned from them and understood why it was a mistake or whatever. And then he was fucking brilliant. There was no ego with him. He would champion you, push you up, and then he ended up leaving, not because he even turned down better jobs so he could stay with the team that we were in. And then I think his wife got sick, and he had to resign to look after her. And I was heartbroken because the next guy that came in was just, back to your typical kind of pillow level manager who doesn't really know their arse from their elbow and wants to be right all the time. Bit like me. Anyway, let's get back to Twitter. I keep saying we go back to Twitter, and I never do. Ange Postecoglou has always been confident about continuing at Tottenham, publicly and privately, said Fabrizio Romano. It's interesting. I wonder whether Ange Postecoglou actually would be more than okay being sacked. Like he always said, right? He's going to get a new job. He said himself, this doesn't bother me. I'll get a new job. I'll be fine. He will be fine. He'll get £7 million compensation. And he'll leave, and half of the Tottenham fan base and a lot of the footballing world, by the way, a lot of the footballing world will say, why the fuck did Tottenham do that? And so he will leave as a champion and someone that will have the sympathy of half the footballing world and get paid £7 million. And then he doesn't have to prove anybody wrong at this level again. He can say, I proved you wrong already. You all said I couldn't do that in my second season. I told you I did. He'll continue to push the narrative of that. He'll hope that everyone forgets all the other things he said that didn't come true or that were double talk. And then he can sail off into the sunset, get another job somewhere else and start again and probably have the same sort of reaction, same sort of invocation of or manifestation of like some serial winner that goes everywhere and wins in his second season and he'll have a fantastic career. And so there's very little. He's in a really strong position here. Like he's in a really, really, really strong position. Daniel Levy's the guy that's in a shit position. Daniel Levy is in like a lose-lose. Speaking about lose-lose, guys, could you lose your inhibitions and find your way to smash the granny out of the like button for me? There's 900 people watching. Unbelievable for Monday morning. Love to see it. I don't know what the likes are on, but I'm guessing they could be a lot higher. I'm thinking maybe 500 likes would be awesome if we can get there before we finish. That would be sensational. So please, if you can, find it in your heart to smash the like. Also smash the subscribe. I'm going to finish this point about Ange and Daniel Levy, and then I'm going to just ask you to hang around for 30 seconds because I'm busting for a wee. But the point I was going to make, right, is that Ange Postecoglou is in a win-win situation, right? As I said, if he gets fired, half the footballing world will say, what the fuck? You should not have been fired. You're a champion. More than half of the Tottenham fan base, the majority of the Tottenham fan base will wish him well, regardless of how they feel about him, because he gave us what we haven't had. He's getting a £7 million compensation package. And for sure, he will have absolutely no problems getting another job. No problems whatsoever. Anywhere in Europe. Because he's a European Cup winner. So if he stays, then he gets to carry on his job, despite the fact that many other managers have been fired for performances in the league that were a fraction as bad as he did. So he's getting like a 9 lives situation with regards to Premier League performance if he stays, and we'll see what happens. And if he gets fired after 10 games, then he still gets fired. He still gets his money anyway. And if he does go, then everyone will feel sorry for him and say, or half the people will say sorry for him, but everybody will say thank you anyway, right? Everybody in the Tottenham community will say thank you. Whatever you think of him, they'll still say thank you for giving us the trophy. So he's in a massive win-win here. And he's getting paid for it. Just don't feel sorry for him. Daniel Levy is in the biggest lose-lose situation of all time. Nothing he can do here that is going to come out favourably for him. If he keeps Ange and Ange fails after 10 games, then the fan base will say, including the Ange in, who a massive part of that Ange in are Ange in, but give him 10 games and see. If he sacks him after 10 games, the season's cooked and the managerial market is drier than it already is, and it's dry right now. But people will say, why did you keep him? The evidence was there, you bozo. If he keeps Ange and Ange wins and does well, and we're 8 wins out of 10 again, or 7 out of 10, it won't be Daniel Levy that will get the credit. It will be Ange Postecoglou that will get the credit, because the buck only stops at the top when it's negative, apparently. That's the rule that I've figured out amongst the fan base. And it shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is. So he won't get the credit if Ange stays, but he'll get the blame if Ange stays and is a success, but he'll get the blame if Ange stays and he fails. If he changes the manager and the manager fails in the first 10 games, then he'll get the blame for why the fuck did you sack our most successful manager in 40 years? And if he changes the manager and he's successful, then you'll get half the people saying, well, Ange could have done that anyway. Or you'll just get people saying, well done to the manager, and imagine how good it could have been if Daniel Levy spent 500 million quid, which of course he can't do. But that doesn't mean that it's not part of a good story for people that want to hate on the owner regardless. So to me, Ange is in a win-win. Or maybe a whinge-win is the right way to say it, actually. He's in a win-win, and Daniel Levy's in the biggest lose-lose of all time. Now, so if you're Daniel Levy, what's the path of least resistance? I think the path of least resistance for him is to keep Ange. I don't think he will. All the reports are saying sack him, or he's going to be sacked. But from a PR perspective, and he hasn't got a PR director anymore after today, but from a PR perspective, it's far easier to keep him, because at least he can say, how could I sack him? He delivered what we all wanted, which was a trophy. At least he has that kind of get out of jail to a degree. But like I say, either way, I think he's on this kind of this temporary reprieve from the change for Tottenham, from the Levy out kind of bandwagon that's been, rattling its drum loudly this summer or this season. That probably goes away regardless before the end of the summer transfer window, when we don't sign £500 million players, because expectations are expectations. But certainly, in all likelihood, the start to the season will be deemed to be a disappointment unless we smash it out of the park. And so Daniel Levy better enjoy this summer, because I think there's pressures coming his way very shortly, and maybe that's why maybe Vini's going to come in and be the punch bag. I don't know. We'll find out. But the path of least resistance is probably to keep him. If Daniel Levy's concerned about his own reputation, I think in this situation. Johnny, I'm going to go and have my wee. I'm busting for it. I'll be back in 1 second, guys. Okay, I'm just going to put up a little banner here so that I'll be back in 1 second. And I shall be... Oh, that's not it. Is it? Wait a minute. Okay. I'll be back in 1 sec, guys. Can we just... Bear with me. Sorry about that. There we go. We're back. Hope you can all hear me. Nice to feel relieved. Woo! And 855 people hang around. I appreciate you. Where'd the other 100 go? Come back. Anyway, so where did we get to? Yeah. Spurs pre-break show, yeah. So let's... there's the face of a man who needs a wee. I had it. So Thomas Frank is the obvious thing, right? So that's the thing. So you got to pay £7 million to Ange if he goes, £10 million to Brentford, Then whatever Thomas Frank will be on, which I'm guessing is probably similar sort of money, like 5-6 million quid a year, whatever. And I think it's a massive unknown. Thavo and Johnny keep sort of insisting to me that Thomas Frank has got his own version of like an inspirational speech. I'm still yet to see it, but I just think the guy's definitely more tactically astute. But is it a sideways step? Like Inzaghi, for me, I think you have a crack. I know people the reaction to the 5-0 drubbing by PSG. By the way, that performance made me pause for thought about buying my ticket to Udinese. Udine. I was like, if Inter Milan can get walked past, how do you set up against PSG? Let's talk about that for a second, right? I mean, it doesn't really. I don't care if you've got the full strength team. Even if you have Eze in the team, even if you have Sane on the right wing and Eze on the left, and Maddison in the 10 and Solanke, and then Bentancur and Polinia, right? Even if you have this perfect, which we won't have, and then the usual back five, how do you set up against that PSG team? This is what I was saying before, long before the final. I was like, you know, if Ange Postecoglou now, this is where I'm probably going to go back to this is the justification for Ange out. If we've been playing like Ange ball or versions of it, but a similar kind of thing for most of the season in the Premier League, and it hasn't worked out, and in the Europa League we played more of a park, you know, Ange ball versus Ange wall, then I'm sorry, but like even the Ange wall model isn't going to be competent enough to be able to not be walked through by teams that are just technically far superior. And some of those goals that PSG scored. Now, I know that Inter Milan, when you park the bus like Inter Milan do, then in order to win those games, you need to go 1-0 up, right? Because if you go 1-0 down or, God forbid, 2-0 down, then you obviously have to change your structure, change your shape, and you have to chase the game. And then by proxy of that, you're going to be far more vulnerable to getting picked off by a team that can just sit back and then go and pounce, right? But so you have to, if you're going to play the park the bus thing, then you have to get 1-0 up, or at least stay 0-0 until half time or whatever, and then maybe adapt. But if you go 1-0 down against a team like PSG, then it could be open season. And I feel like it could be a really long night in the Super Cup, unless, you know, something materially changes. But, you know, even if you bring in a new manager today, there's no players there. There's no players to train, right? So there's no like they're all on holiday. So are PSG at the Club World Cup? Possibly. So let me know, PSG at the Club World Cup. But either way, you know, like, how long is it going to take to embed a new system? And how do you go? I don't know. This is what's terrifying me about the Champions League. Because it's not just PSG that can do that. It's Real Madrid that can do that. You know, it's Liverpool that can do that. This is the caliber of what we're walking into next year. You know, this is the caliber of what we've got to play against next year. So, you know, any kind of romanticizing the idea that we can lift the Champions League, I really like. Look, if Ange stays and he gets us to the semi-finals of the Champions League, then you have to just absolutely like kind of get down on your knees and say like you clearly have something in you that's special. It's like a special ingredient because it's not obvious. Like to me, it's not obvious what his X factor is. Because I don't think he's tactically that clever. Like I think this notion of like playing sort of highline football with a double inversion and a high press, you know, that's not like entirely unique. It's unique in as much as no one else does it for a reason. Because once it gets figured out, it gets picked off. Unless you have a team that's so superior to everybody else's. So, you know, I sit there and just kind of go, how has he had the success that he's had when the sort of the skill set isn't entirely obvious? Like you see some managers in Europe, you see the Frankfurt manager that does this. You certainly see Edin Terzic that does this. It's more common to see it in Europe where like the managers are barely watching the game. They're always like in in consultation with their tactical data team that are looking at iPads and fucking, drawing things and figuring stuff out. And a lot of that stuff might be a little bit like, a little bit over the top, but you can obviously see that that's something that's a visible representation of what they deem to be important, like looking at data in real time and having experts there that are taking that data and utilizing it and saying, oh, well, this is what's happening, right? We're always a couple of meters away from this player here. And, real-time analysis of data that is being fed through the things in the back of their players' shirts into some, AI model or whatever that kind of spits out some obvious observations, and then the people in that team trying to make sense of it to varying degrees of success. So that's like, okay, that's what they deem important, and you can obviously see it. But with Ange, like, I don't know what the obvious thing is. He once we see him on the pitch, he doesn't say a word. He often just has his hands in his pockets. He looks down at the floor a lot. Kicks the dirt like a 7-year-old who's been turned down by his first love. Like, oh shucks. And there's no real kind of reaction when we score a goal or when we lose a goal. So I don't really understand what the X factor is, apart from maybe just the wordsmith thing. But yet, he wins things, doesn't he? He wins wherever he goes. So there's something there. And like I say, if he can navigate, if he can negotiate the Champions League, when there's just levels, and it's terrifying. We will see, right? August the 11th, I think it is. We will see in 8 weeks' time or 10 weeks' time, how far away we are from that standard. And whether it's him or someone else, I don't know. It's gonna be a fascinating encounter. Look, if Ange is still here and he finds a way to lift that Super Cup, then I think on that basis, in fact, let's have that conversation. I'll put out a poll. And get you guys involved. I'll do this. Okay. Start a poll. If Ange is still here and he wins the Super Cup, will you all be Ange in? There you go. Simple question. If he's still here, on the assumption that he is, and he gets to lift the Super Cup, he finds a way to navigate PSG, the European champions, and in so doing, get us into the World Club Cup in 2029 in Brazil. Shout out to Rio. I'm coming for you. Then does that basically wash away any concerns? Does that basically go like, you know what? Even the staunchest Ange outers just go, fuck, you know what? It is what it is. He's just beating the European champions. Suddenly I'm looking at the Champions League and thinking, he's a cup guy. Why can't we just be a cup team for a while? Fuck it. On that basis, yeah, we're not going to get relegated. So let's just put all our eggs in going all in for the Carabao Cup, cup treble in year 3. You know what I mean? Like, it's if that is manifested via the Super Cup, does that change your opinion? Let me see there's 950 people here. There's already 121 votes, and 65% of you are saying, hell yeah. Okay, that's interesting. That is interesting. It'll be fascinating, though, because I think there will still be people going, yeah, but the league is important. And the league is important for what it's worth. The league is important. Because, like I say, cups have variance. Variance with a CE, not with a TS. It does have variance with a TS, but the variance with a CE is massive in a cup in cup football. One key decision that goes the wrong way. The Super Cup don't get you into the Club World Cup, sure, no, but the Super Cup alongside the Europa League would do, apparently, Terry. That's what people have told me. That's what Henry Wright told me, but Henry talks a lot of bollocks, doesn't he? So, I'm not sure. The league is the bread and butter. Where he has come woefully short. Big up, Eugene. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Of course, how can there be anyone who is Ange out if we beat PSG? Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately for me, right, I'm someone who's a bit of a life contrarian. Like, I'll take any side of any debate because whatever the popular side is on a debate, I'll go on and I'll take the other side just because I think it I think it creates decent content, interesting content. It might invoke people to bring hate towards me, but I don't care about that. I think it's always fun, really. But yeah, if everybody goes Ange in when we beat PSG, I might have to be the guy that's still representing Ange out. I think Sava would still represent Ange out, to be honest. I think he's pretty firm on his position on that one. I don't know about Johnny. Johnny almost flip-flopped, by the way. Johnny almost flip-flopped. I love Johnny. I know he's probably watching. I know he's a little bit unwell, so hope you're getting better, mate. Hope you're okay. But Johnny almost flip-flopped. When we first won, he was pumping out all that content on Twitter. And people were saying, are you now Angie? And he's like, oh, I'm torn. And then as soon as he comes back to reality and gets back on the Spurs Talk Show, he's, fuck this, and Angie's that. But he almost flip-flopped. He almost went, fuck me, Sean. I've changed my minds 4 times this morning, says Alan Adams. Yeah. Listen, nothing wrong with changing your mind. Nothing wrong with you changing. The only thing I would say is that Ange himself said, right, if you didn't think I was a good manager yesterday, then you shouldn't think I'm a good manager tomorrow. One game of football shouldn't change your mind. And yet for so many people, it did. And for so many people who are now Angian that weren't, they say, well, he said no one listened to me. I said we were going to win. And I've always said, yeah, like he also said this, that, and the other. And then they go, oh, there's context. But ultimately, if you're listening to what he said on that and you love the fact that he was right, then also listen to the fact that he said, if you didn't rate me yesterday, don't rate me today. And so on that basis, if you wanted him gone before the final, you should still want him gone after the final, It's a minefield, man. It's like the kind of, as you're saying there, Alan, excuse me, if you're changing your mind as often, I'm stuck in it. I sit there and I watch people put out impassioned pleas of back the manager, have faith. And I can get sucked in. Like I have moments where I'm like part of me is, part of me wants to see it kind of play out just to see if he could like defy the odds. It could be a proper Hollywood story, not one that finishes with, yeah, he won the trophy, but he also sucked in the league. But like, because that's kind of like a split story, isn't it? It's like, do you remember those books? You remember those books that, I don't know how old you guys are. Remember those books you used to read when you were like 8 years old, where you'd read a paragraph and then you'd get an option. Like if you choose that door, then go to page 84. If you choose the other door, then go to page 92. And you end up kind of flicking through and you can choose your own path of the story. I feel like if the Ange story stops now, then it's kind of like an incomplete story of being able to know how to feel about it. Whereas, so part of me is like, I think part of the reason why I'm okay if the club stick with him is because I also kind of want to see how it plays out. I want to know whether or not he was a fluke in the cup or whether he was unlucky in the league because of the injuries and the, resources and yada, yada, yada. I just feel like it's too split. Like he's either a legend or he's a fucking fraud. Like you can't be both. And I don't want it to be like an either or. I want to know. Like part of me is like, I'm unfulfilled not knowing whether he is one or the other. And so maybe season 3 will be the final chapter, the trilogy. And we'll know whether he was the hero or the villain all along. Maybe it is a movie. Maybe it is. And you ever find that you get pissed off when you turn on Netflix and they give you like 4 episodes of a show or like 3 seasons of a show, but season 4 is only available with a VPN if you have Hulu subscriptions on some other network? Pisses you off, right? Like you get like the story's left on a cliffhanger and you don't get access to the finale, or you have to wait a year or whatever. Like I don't like that's kind of how I feel a little bit about this one. And so even though I think he's not the guy, I don't know he's not the guy. And I think that a lot of people that think he is the guy, they're also not sure if he really is. And so maybe this season can be the final chapter. I don't know. We're part of Angie's story, says Polly. I hate to say, as silly as your analogy is, it's so true. He needs to see his story out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Have I just gone Anjin? Have I just gone Anjin? Fucking hell. I need someone to come on to stop me from going on these rants. Yeah, it's just crazy. Trouble is, Sean, I nearly always agree with you. Don't, mate. Don't always nearly agree with me. I'm a fraud, mate. I'm a fraud. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just talking to a fucking camera. Sat in a room, like people outside must be going, "Who is that guy? What's he talking about? What is he doing?" Especially when I've got the camera up and down the golf course. People going, "What, mate? I'm trying to play foot golf. Can you get your fucking camera and your dog out of the way? Stop saying, oh, everybody, welcome to Spurs. Get out of the way. We're trying to play golf here." 920 people here, guys. Please smash the like button if you haven't already. Please hit the subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the mark. I think we might be just about to get over 31k. We're at 30,983 subs. So if there's 17 of you that haven't hit the subscribe button that could, there must be. There's 920 people watching, and about half of you are not subscribed. So if 17 of you can smash the subscribe button for me, then I get over 31k, and that would be a really cool milestone, because it was only about 10 days ago I got to 30k. So it's been insane growth the last week, and I really appreciate it. Don't be blinded, Sean. Ange out, says Michael. Let's all just sit on the fence about Ange. Yeah, you're definitely Ange in, Kevin says. Yeah, Ange in. Sean made a logical argument, so he has to stick to it. They are the rules. They are the rules in which I conduct. Only seasons 1, 2, and 4 of Manifest on Netflix. Yeah, that fucking annoys me, bro. That so annoys me. It drives me up the wall. Drives me up the wall. Hi, Sean. Will the medical team leave this season, since we're making a lot of changes? Well, apparently we're still recruiting via LinkedIn. You want to act like a $4 billion you want to be a £4 billion company? Act like a £4 billion company. If a £4 billion company in any other industry had a department that was as crucial to their business as the medical team is to ours, they wouldn't be advertising for senior spots on LinkedIn. They'd get a headhunter. They'd go about like seeking out the best sports medical equivalents in whatever industry they have, and offering them decent money to leave wherever they are to come here. They don't go, yeah, fancy a job, send in your CV and a cover note to jobs@tottenhamhotspur.com. It's so amateur hour. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Even Vini, by the way, came in and put a job in saying, anyone wants to be a CEO assistant should have graduate level. So you got to be a grad, right? Like have a master's in something, master's of business, have incredible communication skills, yada, 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 be able to work as my right-hand man, send in your CV and a cover note, fill in the application form and send an email to jobs@tottenhamhotspur.com. FAO Vini. What are we doing here? Absolutely insane. Gen Z boss with a medical degree. Exactly. Drive my Hyundai. It's so bad. Michael, the situation is so annoying. I just hope whatever decision they make it as soon as possible. This thumb twiddling only does us harm. Sort your shit out, Spurs, and start acting. 100%. 100%, mate. Sean, what are the bollocks? Love a comment that's... Where are we going with this one? If Ange wins the Super Cup, it doesn't change anything. He has to go. It's a one-off game, so anyone could win it. The Super Cup is usually won by the Europa League winners. Okay. Well, look, I just put the question out there. Let's get a take. What are we doing here? The take has now got... How many votes are we on? 325 votes. 65% says you're Ange. In. Maybe it's because it's evening in Australia, isn't it? It's evening in Australia. I think this could be some manipulation. Now, listen, I think it's a fair question. How else can you judge? What else can you do if you're trying to make a decision? And by the way, this is all just like on the presumption that he's still here. I'd imagine that if he's still here by August, then he will be here by September. So there's no doubt about that. But like, so the question isn't really, should we sack him, Matthew, if he wins the cup? If he's here in August, he's not being sacked until it all goes tits up. But in terms of if the club come out with an announcement tomorrow and say Ange is staying, then there's still going to be debate amongst all of us lot for the rest of the summer around whether that was the right decision or otherwise. But if he is staying, and if the Super Cup turns out to be a win for Tottenham, however it comes about, whether it's a convincing win or by hook or by crook, then surely, I think on that base, he's won you 2 cups. He's won you 2 cups in 2 months, which is more European Cups than Arsenal have won in their entire history. And I'm not including that fucking City Fairs Cup that happened in the 70s or whenever it was, which was like an invite-only tournament that, had plumbers turning up that were representing a city. So I don't know why Arsenal are allowed to represent this City Fairs Cup. That was a different incarnation of football trophies, and it wasn't the same as the UEFA Cup is now, even though they say it is. It wasn't, not at all. Different thing altogether. It's not an announcement. Well done, Ange. You kept your job. You can either make your decisions based on the past body of work or emotions. You were in finance. What would happen if you made your decision on it? No, 100%, Glenn. That's why I lean Ange out. 100%. Right? Like you don't make your decisions based on emotions. 1 million, especially not trading. Fuck no. You do that, you're getting carried out on a stretcher. 100%. And I hope that Daniel Levy is making his decision based on his head, which he always has done before. But for all intents and purposes, it sounds like recently that he said, well, part of the reason why there's like still no decision, it's still undecided, is because he was kind of like surprised by the kind of reaction, by the emotion, and by the size and the magnitude of the celebrations and how much it meant to the club. And I guess, like I say, I think it always comes back a little bit to what's in it for me. That's life, right? It's the human condition. So whilst he thinks about what's good for Tottenham for him is not necessarily what's good for Tottenham for the fans or for other things, right? So and there's always going to be an element of him going, this is why I put this argument out earlier, saying, like, he's fucked either way. I don't see a scenario playing out here where he doesn't get criticised. I think Ange has got a win-win. Sack him, he leaves as the legend that was sacked after winning the thing that no one else had done at Tottenham. I did what Conte couldn't do. I did what Mourinho couldn't do. I did what Poch, your fucking favourite guy of all time, couldn't do. I did what Joel didn't do. I did what yada yada yada. Right? I'm in an elite group of managers with Birkinshaw and Bill Nicholson, all that stuff. He'll be able. Like, imagine the spin that he can spin like Shane Warne on anything, on any topic, and get people to buy in on this topic. After he gets sacked, if he gets sacked after the fact, he can spin that into, I'm a victim. It wasn't my fault. I did what no one else could do. I'm a champion. I'm now £7 million wealthier. I'll get another job. And I didn't have to prove them wrong. I didn't have to prove them wrong a second time, or I didn't have to prove the league situation wrong because the chance was, it was the stonecutter analogy, right? You sacked me on the 100th blow in the league. We weren't at the 101st blow yet. We got to the 101st blow in the cup. We didn't get to the 101st blow in the league. So that stonecutter analogy thing is a perfect utilization there. So that's a win-win for him. For Daniel Levy, lose. And I won't repeat what I said before, but I've said it. So, Donna Cullen's departure smacks me of an imminent takeover. No, I don't. Look, as I said earlier, mate, I think that it's a bit of a nothing burger in as much as, well, like, the only way it's nothing more than a nothing, but hang on, how say this? The only way it's anything more than a nothing burger is if we put our conspiratorial hats on and we chew the fat on why now, What about Matthew Colcott? Why is his details changing with Company's House? Right? Is that all connected? It's also on Vini's first day. Is it part of like a big sweeping change that's coming? Maybe. In fact, I've got an article. I should have gone through it already. I've been going for an hour and 45. I've forgotten about it. I'll show you now. But it also could just be that it was a planned retirement that was delayed last year and they got kicked the can. And that she's thought, well, it's Vini's first day. He's going to want to make changes. I don't want to have to make decisions based on things when I'm not going to be here to see them through. So, yada, yada, yada. Also, for what it's worth, Vini can't, like, as a CEO, he doesn't have the mandate to kick people off the board. He can certainly, like, consult and give instruction and give advice. And maybe within his mandate, he has the ability to kind of make those decisions, although they have to be authorized via different mechanisms, like board votes. You have to vote people on or off the board. So yeah, like, again, in all likelihood, it's just a kind of stamping of a previously decided outcome, which I wasn't aware of, by the way. I put a tweet out earlier. Let me see. I'll see how many tweets. I think it's had something like, here we go. How many's it on now? 600 likes. Fucking hell. I put the tweet out saying, yeah, I'll show you. I put the tweet out saying, who is it? I think I fucked up here, to be honest. I put a tweet out this morning saying, when this tweet came out, like, Donna Cullen stood down from the Tottenham Hotspur board. And I've said either the boardroom was split over Angie's future or Vini has come in and dropped a nuke on the structure. And it's had, like, obviously 60,000 views, 600 odd likes. And then George Bannister, who obviously knows what he's talking about. He's I don't know, I think he's a journalist, or he's just someone who's connected or whatever. I don't know what his relationship is, but he seems to be someone that he knows what's going on. He said it was due to happen last year, but never materialized, has been earmarked for a while. So that's only had 94 likes and it's only had 7,000 views. So, like, 52,000 people have seen my story and have gone with my version, and a fraction of them have actually seen the truth. You know, I didn't say, I didn't realize. Fair enough. You know, so yeah, it's this is you know, like I said, I'm never claiming to be an insider. I don't know. I'm just a fan with an opinion like everybody else. You know, so it is what it is. I want to show you this this story. Where is it? How do I find this now? It's from Ali Gold. How do I get there? Bookmarks. Oh, by the way, so Leroy Sané is also being. Can you see this on the screen still? Yeah. So Leroy Sané is being still being looked at by Barcelona as well. However, that's for Fajaces. We don't trust them. They're terrible. I trust Henry Wright more than I trust them. I'm ain't kidding, Henry. I love you. Tottenham are able to offer Leroy Sané an indisputable starting place on the right wing. Spurs have offered Sané a 4-year contract and currently are in pole position to land the player. This geezer is absolutely someone that you listen to. You know, he was first on so many things. So there is truth to it. It is real. And 4-year contract at 250 grand a week in pounds, right? So that's, what is that? £12.5 million a year. So that's 12.5, 25, so £50 million, right? Over 4 years. And then probably what, like a 10, 15 million pound signing fee. So that's a 65 million pound contract, right? Between the various parties that doesn't have to go to Bayern Munich. So yeah, let's stick to the transfers for a second. And then we're going to keep going for a little while. If you guys want to, if you guys have got nothing to do, I'll just keep going because I've got an empty bladder and lots to talk about with you. But I'm really enjoying this, by the way. Smash the like button. So we got this. So 60. Let's call it 65 million pounds as a contract, total contract value, and that's including a 15 million pound signing fee. Now it doesn't matter whether you give him less money and more in the signing fee or whatever. Let's just call it a 70 million pounds, 70 million pound 4-year total transfer package. People go, we're not going to break the wage structure for him. Why wouldn't we? When Dominic Solanke cost us 65 million, Tanguy and Ndombele cost us 65 million, Richalison cost us 60 million. Just in the transfer fee. Plus whatever they're getting paid. So Leroy Sané on a 4-year deal is going to cost you 60% of what it would cost you to have a Dominic Solanke. Now, I know Solanke might have a sell on, but he's 26, 27. So he's not exactly like, by the time his contracts run down, he's going to be worth, similar to Richalison, right? Like we're going to, if we sell Richalison now, you're going to get 20 million for him because you've already amortized, 70% of his cost. So looking like Sane might be a Tottenham player on the right wing. Indisputable starting place on the right wing. To Bronson to the Brennan Johnson to the bench, right? Love to see it. Brennan Johnson tapping Merchant, back post Johnson, backdoor Johnson, isn't it? What Johnny calls him in the Bonnie Blue Bowl. Amazing. Now you go and get Eberechi Eze. And if you have to trigger the cause, you trigger the cause, right? If you can negotiate and you can send someone in the other direction. However, Eze could fit in the 10. But there's other news out today. And then we've got to talk about this one here. Bayern Munich want to renegotiate with Tottenham for Matthias Tell's departure. The German giants are willing to demand less than the agreed clause of 50 to 60 and could lower the asking price to £30 million. Now, what's interesting about this one is, are they desperate to get it done so that they can then use that £30 million to write down what they owe us on the Harry Kane transfer, but also to maybe be able to go back to this guy and give him what he wants from Bayern that he can't currently get, that they can't currently afford to give him? You know what I mean? Bit of 4D chess going on here. Does Pinny Zahavi really want him to come to Tottenham? Does he really want to go to London in the Premier League? That's what the stories say. He wants to come back to the Premier League. He wants to move to London. His family want to go to London. He's had enough of Germany. Bayern Munich want to keep him. They can't afford the salary. Now, Sane plays on the right, but he can play on the left. If Tottenham go and get Eze, then you don't need Matthias Tell. Would you be happy? There's a super chat here I've got to go to. I'll press pause on this for a second. Come back to it. Love that with all the media. This is Blaine Devlin, my man. Blaine, love you, buddy. Love you, man. Thank you so much. Love that with all the media and speculation and board reshuffling, as per usual, our club time, a kit launch video in the midst of it all. Yeah, Johnny got hold of that kit about a month ago, didn't he? You know what's really weird, just quickly? That tooth there, I'm 41 years old. You see how it's like popped forward? That tooth there was like flat about a year ago, and it's getting more and more. Why would my jawline be changing at 41? I've had all my wisdom teeth out years ago when I was like 18. And teeth are down here changing shape, and I don't like it. Don't like it at all. Love that with all the media speculation, and I don't know why I just did that. That's embarrassing. Love that with all the media speculation and board reshuffling, as per usual, our club time, a kit launch video in the midst of it all, still and out. I think the kit launch is just the kit launch, mate. It's the start of the season, start of the summer, Everyone's going in their barbecues. I'll be getting myself a black kit because, for my curvaceous figure, I don't want to look like the Michelin Man. I'd rather look like, well, a slightly less obvious Michelin Man with a black kit on because it's good for the curves. Thank you very much, Blaine. Love you, man. Oscar, new member. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you very much for your support of the channel. Love that. Love a nice new member. I'm going to do a... Get yourself to Turkey, lad. Yeah, but I'm saying I don't know what's happened. Like, why would your teeth change? And I understand your teeth change shape when you're a child, but like, why would my teeth change like now? My teeth were always nice, and now they're starting to look a bit like reckless. Don't like it. Don't like it. Afternoon, Adrian. Good to see you, mate. James T, you've been. Have you got the Simon Cowell teeth? Have you seen Simon Cowell, by the way? What has happened to that geezer? What has happened to him? He looks like a freak. He's like a clone gone wrong. Too much money. Too addicted to not getting old. Probably on the adrenochrome. Oh, pause. That should be on the Sean Butler TV conspiracy channel. And allegedly as well, not probably. Tell's done absolutely nothing. No, thank you. Much rather Sane than that's proven in the Premier League. Put the 30 million towards Eze. Do I grind my teeth when I sleep? Yeah, I think I do actually. Is that what it could be? Is that what it is? Yeah, I do quite clench quite a lot. I'm always clenching. Do I open beer bottles with my teeth? No, I don't. No. I've actually figured out this thing here, which was once upon a time like a mic hoist that this microphone was on, but it became annoying. It's actually got this little knob on it, and it's perfect for opening a bottle of Thatcher's. So I've got the world's biggest, most overpriced bottle opener sat on the side of my desk. Let's get back to what was the story. So where are we? So yeah, Tottenham are able to offer Leroy Sané into people's time. So imagine Leroy Sané on the right hand side, right? And then would you be okay? So are we all like? Let me change the poll. I want to get a take now on Matisse Tell at £30 million. How did we do on those subscription requests? 10. We're 7 away, guys. We're 7 away from 31k. Is there 7 of you that hasn't subscribed that can smash a little subby-roo for me? That'd be awesome if you can. There's 950 of you here, so I appreciate that about you. Love that about you. How do I get back to this poll? So the poll has got 500 votes, give or take. And if we win the Super Cup, we're in by 2/3. Okay, fucking fascinating. Fucking fascinating. Now let's go for quite simply Tell for 30 million. Yes or no? There you go. Get voting. I want to know what you feel. So that's the story. So Sané's probably going to come, and that I'm okay with that. I'm very much okay with it. But I just wonder why it is that Bayern Munich are so desperate. They're so desperate to get him off their books. Is it because they just don't think he's that good? Or is it because they need that money? Is it because they're desperate for us to do that rather than Sané so they can keep Sané? Are they really worried? I think that they are really worried about losing Sané on a free transfer, and they feel like the kind of goose is cooked. Because if they sign him on a new contract, then they can obviously sign him for 3 years or whatever, and then immediately maybe they could probably do that and then sell him and get some money back, right? So like, there's probably some 4D chess going on there. But I just think that Sané's played a bit of a blinder there with Pini Zahavi. But I just don't know whether or not Sané, are they just using us? Is it like a honey trap? Are they just using us to get more from their current boyfriend? You know, I think from now on, every analogy I'm going to use regarding Tottenham Hotspur somehow relates back to Helga. I think that's what they're going to do. Tottenham Hotspur is now going to be us and a dating relationship. We're single. We're married. We're looking at strippers. You know, everything's going to be around relationships. And trust me, I'm going to come up with some absolute whoppers. You know why? Because I'm single. I've been single most of my life. I've had many, many, many short-term girlfriends, but I know nothing about dating. I know nothing about compromise. I know absolutely nothing about how to navigate the complexities of a family life. No responsibilities. And so, yeah, I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy to be giving those sorts of analogies, but that's what I'm going to do. Rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta with Helga FC. By the way, guys, what was it someone said the other day? Smatter-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-tash the like button. Smash the like button. Confirmed bachelor over here. Hello, Ren. How you doing, mate? You okay? Good to see you. You're a bachelorette, aren't you? A bachelorette? Is that what they call it? Sané, Eze, and Mbeumo, please. Yes, I'm being greedy. I don't think there's space for all of them, is there? There's space for 2 of them. Rob? What's the best bet for manager situation? Ange, Stay, or Frank? Well, the betting market says spinster is the correct term. Okay. Fair enough. The betting market is odds-on favourite that Thomas Frank's going to become manager. And apparently, let's get back to the old Twitter thing that I've been pulling up and putting down again. Pause. There you go. Multiple meetings between Thomas Frank and Spurs have already taken place. Multiple meetings. This is why I'm just like, I'm a little bit like, in fact, this is kind of it. For a well-known, I mean, he's not a well-known loser. He's just, Crazy club man, disgusting idiot. Well, I wouldn't go that far. Is he much better than Ange? Rob Gibson's asking. Ange says we need a new quality, experienced players to be competitive on all fronts. That's handing your notice in as far as Levy is concerned. That's an interesting take. Interesting. That is interesting. The fact that Ange has come out and asked for experience. But we're going for experience. We're linked with Theo Hernandez. We're linked with Mark Gahey. We're linked with Sane. We're linked with Eze. That's kind of it, isn't it? There's not a huge amount of links. The other links we've got are like spurious and kind of speculative. We're linked with like, Branthwaite a little bit. We're linked with David Hansko, who's now going. Where's Hansko going? I think is Hansko going to Monaco, I think he's going to France, isn't he? We've been linked with Ain't Nouri, who's going to Manchester City. There's not a lot going on. Hugo Larson, he's not really experienced, but he's quality. 26 losses puts anyone out of the job under pressure. Multiple meetings, that's Ange gone surely then. But yeah, Ben Jacobs doesn't always get it right though. But I think he's not someone that makes stuff up. But I think he likes to I've been on shows with him on Last Word on Spurs. He's a really nice guy. But like you ask him a question and he'll talk longer than I would. If he had his own YouTube channel, there'd be like 8-hour streams. It'd be crazy. I'd like it. I'd be all over it. Bradley Barcola, yeah. Good chance. Good chance of getting that one. The Spurs dating show. Afternoon, Shawnee. Afternoon, Graham. How you doing, mate? Good to see you, buddy. Do you think the Super Cup will be Sonny's last game? Well, that's an interesting one, Alex. I don't know. Maybe. Depends, right? Where does he go? Saudi? I just feel like Sonny doesn't think that his career is winding down. I think in his mind, he said it, didn't he? He said it when he went to Korea and he was asked on international duty, why is it that he's not playing that many minutes or whatever? And he said, ask the manager, I'm fit as I've ever been. Well, he was claiming he was fully fit. And then at the end of the season, a couple of years ago, he said that he'd been carrying a hernia for 8 months. Again, human condition, right? You don't want to acknowledge that you're getting older. When I was in Bilbao and I was still up at 6 a.m. To be fair to Henry Wright, actually, before the Bodo thing, before the Bodo trip, I was like, Johnny and Henry don't know what they're getting themselves into. And they didn't, but they stood up to me and they drank with me all day long, and fair play to them. I think Johnny was a little bit worse for wear, but when we got back to the airport on the way back, he had a bit of a wobble. It was, but Henry was good form and he punched through. But in Bilbao, I'll be entirely honest, it was like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we were still walking around Bilbao in the town centre, and I was like more ready to go home than Henry was. So. He's only 28 or whatever. So like he's got 13 years on me, and I think that's me. I think I'm maybe I'm Sonny. Like I don't want to admit that I'm getting older and I can't do it that much anymore. She's feeling her age as well. You just got a foot cramp. Sorry to hear about your foot cramp. Yeah. You've had no foot cramp unless you've had gout. Have you ever had gout? Fuck me. Gout is like, that's just excess, right? Gout is from too much red wine, too much red meat, it's folic acid that forms on your joints in your feet. You've never known pain like gout, man. Let me know. Anyone had gout in the house? Has anybody here had gout before? I'm looking for the older guys. R.I.P. Sean's youth. Yeah, I miss it so much. Arsenal were looking to hijack Tottenham's deal for Sarr. What? Oh, fuck off. What are we doing there? I'm going to get CF buying up. Is that real? Is that legit? Motherfuckers. I hate them so much. No, they're not, are they? They are. Oh, no. Oh, no. You bastards. Let's have a look, shall we? What are we saying here? I ain't going to agree to selected ones. The Leroy Sané transfer saga has taken another dramatic turn after Arsenal have concrete steps in signing the winger. Fuck Spurs were thought to be leading the race to sign the 29-year-old winger, but it appears Arsenal were looking to hijack. No! Last week, CF Bayern insider Christian Falk reported that Sané's agent Pini Zahavi wants his client to move to Tottenham. Bayern have held talks with Zahavi regarding the extension of Sané's current deal, but it appeared that Spurs were in a strong negotiating position. Spurs will play in the Champions League next season, yada, yada, yada. But, Daniel Levy is thought to be a good friend of Zahavi. Yeah, that didn't really work when you were good mates with the PSG guy and he ended up going to Juve, you bozo. Last month, the Times reported that Mikel Arteta is looking to sign a new winger and has earmarked the former City attacker as a potential. You know what, though? Actually, even though you're saying that, Christian Falk, what's that? Oh, Leverkusen have rejected a second offer for Liverpool. They rejected 130. Wow. Wow. You know what, mate? I think this guy is going to struggle to live up to the hype. I don't care. Like the argument that the player's not responsible for the fee shouldn't affect them. They're aware of the fee. They're aware of the pressure to justify the value. 150 million euros. That's 120 million quid. Plus, he's going to be probably on 15 million a year or something like that with performance-related pay or whatever. I know Liverpool structure their deals differently. So, on a 5-year deal, 75 plus, that's a 200 million pound transfer. Madness. But let's get back to, where were we? Thank you for sharing that, whoever shared it. The reason why possibly this one is, by the way, just check this out, right? Look at some of these Leroy Sané highlights. This is an Arsenal fan that's like taking the piss, saying, yeah, it's a real no-no in my opinion. We are rebuilding and moving onwards and upwards, and moving him to us has got last payday written all over it. It reads like it's legit, but he's sharing content that is showing how good Sané is against Arsenal, because he's absolutely class. He tears them apart. Look at that for a ball. Absolutely insane. But, right, this is the thing. How important is this bit? Leroy Sané has been offered a indisputable starting place on the right wing, right? Are you getting that? Are you getting that at Arsenal? Are you getting that at Arsenal? I don't think you're getting that at Arsenal. Because you've got Bukayo Saka in front, haven't you? Unless you put him on the left, but then you've got to sell Martinelli. And are Arsenal going to sell Martinelli? If we think Gout is good, we should sign him. Ulrika Johnson. Ulrika! You're the missing piece of our Swedish puzzle. You're the missing piece, Ulrika. Get yourself in the stands, girl. Get yourself in the stands. He's start on the left. He's equally as good there. Yeah, he is, Josh. That's a good point. Paddy McCaddy, what are we going to do with Brennan then? Stick him in the fucking, I don't know. Stick him on the bench. Let him come off the bench. Backdoor Johnson. With Ulrika Johnson. Big up, Sean. Long time since I tuned in. Has it been a long time? I think there's two LB3s. I think there's two of you. Because A, your name was in a stream about 3 days ago. So, and if that's your long time thing, then fair enough. But also, there's a version of you which is really like, I love Sean, he's a good guy, and there's another version of you which is really cunty. And I don't know if you're the same person or if there's just someone who's got a doppelganger of you. I don't know. Let's find out. Ulrika trying to get a date with Sean. I would. Would! You seen that meme with that, like, the Chinese politician who's, like, screaming into the mic and everyone's trying to stop him? He says, would! And it's always used whenever there's, like, some, like, innocuous, irrelevant video that's about something else that happens to have, like, a good-looking woman in it. I rate your channel. Thank you. But, here we go. You're flip-flopping on Andrew's a bit mad. That guy won us a trophy and people want him gone for that hipster Frank. Well, I don't want Thomas Frank, first and foremost. And also, I haven't... I like to play all angles, mate. I'm like a protractor, you know? That's what I think I am. You get out the Pythagoras theorem and you'll figure out that I'm trying to find the right angle to land where I want to land, and that has to involve like experimental thought concepts where we go through, chew over the fat. I also like to debate, mate. I think it's necessary. Good content. If I've got someone else, like the other day, it was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the Ange Out news, and I had Johnny and Pete on, and they're both Ange Out, and I'm Ange Out. I lean Ange Out, but I also understand the Ange ins. Like, maybe that makes me a fence sitter. Maybe that makes me a flip flop. I'm someone who I try to figure out what the right method is, and that requires you to chew things out in public. That's all I do. Meritocracy, Sean. You can merit all over mine. Anyway, let's see. Sean at Sean. Is that me? Agree, Sean Michael. Sean Michael's in the chat. I'm just a sexy boy, sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy, boy toy. I love Sean Michael. He was awesome. I do love a masturbate, Ren. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You little cheeky thing. That's a nice profile pic, by the way. Change your profile pic. Very nice. Where was I going? Where was I going with this? Is there anything else to talk about with you lot? Or shall I let it go? Oh no, I wanted to show you the Football London article, didn't I? That's what sorry guys. Sorry. Let's get to this Football London article because it's all about the actual topic of the show, which was corporate structure. Fucking 2.5 hours later. And we're gonna finally get there. Are we gonna get there? Stop interrupting me. Where's that story I need to find? Here it is. Oh, by the way, you seen this? I'm going to get off the topic here again. Apparently, I don't believe this for a second, but Tottenham will not receive a percentage of a possible sale for Johnny Cardoso since the player rejected a move to the club. How does that work, right? So we sold Giovanni Lo Celso for free? That can't be right. Like, surely the argument is if he came to Tottenham, then we got him for £21 million. The fact that he decided to go elsewhere meant that we got 35% of his salary. The fact that he rejected a move to the club can't possibly, surely Daniel Levy didn't fuck that up. If Daniel Levy, honestly, or whoever at the club legitimately constructed a contract where there was a clause that said, if he rejects you, like the only way that you get your 35% of the sell-on fee is if you aren't rejected by him, but if you just don't take up the option. But if you do take up the option, but he rejects you and goes somewhere else, then you get nothing. If Tottenham Hotspur are guilty of that oversight with a contractual, I don't know, like a loophole, like an FFP loophole, then fuck me. We need to challenge whether Daniel Levy and his cohort are really the genius businessmen. But I just don't believe that for a second. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, let's get to this Football London story, right? So this is from Ali Gold. Tottenham Hotspur are set to undergo major sweeping changes from top to bottom. Is this on the screen, by the way? Have I got it on the screen? Yeah, I have it. No, I haven't. Hang on. Here we go. Share this tab instead. Gosh. This is the most informative and funniest channel. Appreciate you, Daniel. Appreciate you, mate. Another great bit of business from Levy. Yeah. Well, like I say, if he really has fucked up in that regard, then that's just a wild faux pas. That is a wild faux pas. Imagine that Betis going, he doesn't realise yet. He doesn't realise. When he gives us a call saying, excuse me, where's my 35%? No, monsieur, there's no... I'm doing a French accent for. I need a Spanish accent. How do I do a Spanish accent? There is no Mitalivi. No, that's a Mexican. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to move on. Tottenham Hotspur are set to undergo major sweeping changes from the top to bottom of the club in the coming weeks. Football London understands as new and old faces take charge of football matters. Spurs turned a torrid season something special with Postecoglou leading the club to its first trophy in 17 years as Tottenham won the Europa League final against United in Bilbao. That victory had numerous knock-on effects, not least the huge boost of yada, yada, yada. Let's get to the point here. Football understands that new CEO Vini is set to officially start his role next week. So he's not even here yet. And the former Arsenal man is preparing to launch into major changes and appraisals within the club that will impact all of the key departments that feed into the first team setup, including coaching, medical, and sports science. The 44-year-old, Jesus, he's 2 years older than me. And he's in charge of Tottenham. And I'm in charge of a fan channel. Oh, I'm such a failure. The 44-year-old was a popular figure across North London at Spurs rivals for the work he did inside that club in taking big strides within its structure while also engaging with the supporters and bringing clarity to what is going on. Venkatesham is expected to do similar at Tottenham, a club that has been criticised for struggling to communicate effectively with its fan base. Many inside Spurs are also expecting the return of former managing director, the Don, this summer following the conclusion of his initially global 30-month ban for irregularities at Juventus. Irregularities. Yeah, okie dokie. Where the Italian previously worked. Paratici has always maintained a close relationship with Levy, who has tried for a decade to get him to North London before finally doing so in 2021. And the 52-year-old has remained one of the Tottenham Supremo's trusted advisors. He continued in a consultancy role with the club even after his resignation and helped Postecoglou in the first summer at the club. Paratici has been a constant presence at many Spurs home games this season, sat in corporate seats behind the press box, and was also in Bilbao for the European League. Come on, get to the point. What are we changing here? Should Paratici walk through the door with Venkatesham, then the future remains unclear for both Chief Football Officer Scott Munn and Technical Director Johan Lang. Both men joined the club in 2023 and have proved popular appointments behind the scenes that many of their duties will cross over those of the other two men. Technically, below it, when it comes to Paratici, if the Italian does indeed return, then it's likely to be at a higher boardroom level as he worked at before. This would leave some room for the Dane to operate below him, as was the case when Paratici first arrived in 2021 with Steve Hitchen working as, I don't believe, like I said at the start of this video, right? I don't believe for a second that you can go from being the boss to the assistant to the boss, or the assistant to the boss to the assistant. Sounds like The Office, right? I'm assistant regional manager. You're the assistant to the regional manager. Hitchen was a close acquaintance of Paratici and helped him with his appraisals. Where's the news? Is there anything here that's worth a lot of waffle, isn't it? All right, there's nothing here. Let's go back. So basically, what I said, right? A lot of changes may be happening, maybe not. Anyway, get him out of my club, says Vim. There is a story that we have an obligation to buy tell. Yeah, again, not sure that's true. I think someone somewhere was saying that we had an obligation at 60 million if there was conditions that were met, and apparently they nearly all of them have been met. If that's the case, then why is it that Bayern Munich are so desperate to get us back to the negotiation table that they would cut the price in half? I think that Bayern Munich are desperate to not lose Sane on a free, and they'll do anything to make us get hold of Tell for whatever money so that they can keep Sane. But this Arsenal news is a real kick in the teeth, isn't it? You know, I just hope that Sane will choose Tottenham because he's guaranteed to play. Because I think that's a statement signing. I think it's a marquee signing, you know. And also, selfishly, going back to this, the point I've been making to you guys forever is that everything that anyone does or says, you have to always challenge in your mind why it is that they're saying what they're saying. What is the motivation for them to do so? Right? I use Hugo Lloris as the example with regards to the insufficient despondency at the loss of the Champions League for creating a culture that wasn't, winning enough when he was the captain of the club. and has more access to the dressing room's culture than Daniel Levy does, yet he was pointing the finger at Daniel Levy. What's the motivation there? Well, the motivation is if I put my finger over there, people are not pointing at me, even though when you point one finger there, there's always 3 pointing right back at you, right? One of the greatest analogies ever used. But I think you can make the same argument for Glenn Hoddle for the book that he wrote about Daniel Levy, Conte for his exit. By the way, I watched a video earlier about Conte's exit interview about Chelsea. Fucking spicy. He's the guy that likes to talk about what he's done and not what he hasn't done, doesn't he? But yeah, so I just think that there's always that kind of that self-motivation, right? Like, am I saying what I'm saying, or is someone telling me what they're telling me because they have a vested interest in me thinking a certain thing? And then you have to challenge that, right? You always have to challenge that in life. Not that I'm giving you advice, but if you don't do that, do it, right? Do it. Always think, why are you telling me what you're telling me? What's your goal? What's in it for you? And I think that there's an element, an argument that with the Matisse Tell deal, there was I'd sort of moved on from the Matisse Tell deal. Why did I bring this up? It was about something else. My mind's gone blank. But I think just generally speaking, the Matisse Tell deal still stinks to me that there's something else going on. And I think that what the fuck was I? What did I say? What was I talking about just now? Someone fill me in. I've been doing this. I'm 2 hours and 20 minutes in. I'm now just rambling on and I'm ranting. I need someone else to motivation behind the comments. But what was the point I was making? What was I talking about just before I mentioned Hugo Lloris? Sane. What was I saying about Sane? Fuck it. I don't remember. It was probably useless information anyway. But always reflect on why people are saying what they're saying and is there an angle? Oh, I know what it was. I was about to throw shade at myself, right? So when I say I really want Sane to come in, and I do, because I do think he's a really good player, but selfishly, I also put my name on the line, right? I put my reputation on the line. All year I've been saying that Tottenham will sign a club's new highest earner this summer and or a new transfer fee. And if it didn't happen, then I would be in the mud because so many people would say, oh, you're the guy who thinks he knows the finances. You said that Tottenham were going to get a new club's highest earner and a new transfer record fee and it didn't happen. You don't know shit. Well, secretly, I really want our first signing to be Sane because that gets him immediately as the new club's highest earner. And then I want us to secretly sign Eze because that also gets us the new transfer record. And then I was right. So, why am I saying what I'm saying to you? Is it because I think it's what's right for Tottenham or is it what's right for Sean? This is what we're doing here, okay? I'm even giving you the advice to not listen to me and just take me blindly on my word because there's always a motivation. And for my motivation, it's to be right. I was talking about brasses. Yeah, you are mudded if it doesn't happen. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Well, fucking get on again. Don't fucking Arsenal. Don't you Arsenal me. It's not. It is going to happen. Look, even if it doesn't happen, the intention for it to happen was there, and that's good enough for me. You can't necessarily control the outcome of, serenity prayer, right? Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the strength to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I can't decide whether we do it, but the intention was there, and that's good enough for me. That'll give me an out. I'll dance around that one in some sort of debate somewhere. Don't worry about that. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're done with the news. We're going for 2 hours and 23 minutes. I told them, and they didn't believe me. That's right, driving my Hyundai. I'm coming out with an Ange style video. Sensational way to finish. Sensational. We ain't signing. Oh, you know what? I want to clip. I would love it if there. You know what? I'm going to speak to StreamYard and say, is there any chance you can add a feature where you can just star these comments and they get put in some archive somewhere with a date, and then you can title the comment of why it was important, what was the context or whatever, and then you can come back and go, fuck you, LV3. You said we ain't signing Eze, though. Everybody, do me a favor. Remember this. If we sign Eberechi Eze, there's 900 people here. I need some of you to remember that LV3 said we ain't signing Eze, okay? Because he's going to come for me if we don't get the record signing. I'm coming for you if we do, bro. I'm coming for you. I am coming for you, LV3. Whichever version of you are, the nice guy or the bad guy. I don't know. There's two of you, so we'll just, yeah. Let's have a look at the Matisse Tell poll result. Oh, thank you, Ulrika. Ulrika. What are we doing here? 55% says no. Yeah, you don't know ball. You lot don't know ball. 54, 55, 45. It's on the fence for 30 million. It's interesting. So at some point you'll get the swing. At some point you'll go to yes. So will it be 25 million? Will it be 20 million? Or do people just not want him? I see something in him. I see something in him. Computer says no. Computer says no, Nate. 100%. Sean, what do you make of Kieran Maguire's comments that although Spurs owe, it's that a large portion of that is due this summer, which is a problem. Yeah, I said to you before. I said not to you before, Terry, but I thought it's 260 million for what it's worth, not 330. But maybe it's 330 outgoings, but 260 net. I'm not sure. But either way, that's common, right? That's what happens. That's the whole point of amortization, is that you don't pay. You're always going to owe money from previous. You're always going to do that. So it's not, people spin this, and even the club try to make out like this is a thing, but it's not really a thing, because the whole point is that you don't pay for all your transfers up front. So the fact is that we have 300 million, 250 million to owe, but we have, a lot of that to be paid off. So it all depends on the structure of the deal. And again, so it comes down to the difference between what you owe and also cash flow. And that's where, maybe the Eze deal makes it a little bit more difficult, right? Because if Tottenham need to get the Eze deal done, and the only way to do it is by triggering the release fee, and that requires that you pay £68 million up front, then that coupled with this makes us completely basically cash illiquid. Like, you're wealthy, but it's like a 75-year-old that's a millionaire, but they live on food stamps and their government pension, but they've got £1 million house, So cash flow is the most important thing. And if what Kieran Maguire is saying, I don't know how Kieran Maguire knows that though, because the specifics of who, like, that there is like this short-term liabilities, long-term liabilities with player trading, but maybe he knows something, or maybe I haven't looked into it deeply enough. It's been a while since because I've sort of lent into more clickbaity shit. I've spent less time sort of wasting hours and hours and hours figuring out what the absolute truth is on the finances, because it never really got like, I could just bang out a 20-minute video about Eberechi Eze and get 20,000 views, whereas I go and put like 4 days worth of work into reading the finances and do a show, and there's like 100 live viewers that are interested in it. I'm not moving away from the finances, but I'm still going to be a finances guy, 100%. But I'm not sure. But yeah, like the summary there, Terry, mate, is that cash flow is king. Cash is king, and that might make the Eze deal a tricky thing. Did we get to 31k? Did we, guys? Oh, that's awesome. Let me just double check. Yeah, we're at 31,005. That's amazing. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all for doing that. We're on to the next 32k. I'm going to leave you there, guys. I'll be back later on with either another live stream or maybe a fan show, or maybe I'll take the dog out and do something else. But yeah, you'll get another piece of content from me today. So keep your eye on the channel. We're going to do more and more and more, much as we can. And I will update you with anything we go. Is there any more super chats that I've missed out? No, just Oscar. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the membership. Thank you, Blaine. Thank you, Finn. Thank you, Malaysia Player. Thank you, Nicky Boy. Thank you, James. Thank you, Nathan, very much. Thank you, Dermatron. Keep up your Dermatroning. And guys, we will see you on the next one. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, bye-bye.